Yo, what's up? Today we're checking out a new vampire manhwa. Bet you didn't see this coming, it's the first time I'm even touching this genre on the channel. If you're into it, blow up the comments and I'll make more. Aight, so boom. Under the pale, silent moonlight shining on the endless night, a car cruises down a deserted road. Cutting through the darkness, a man shoves the door open and steps out, a flash of light against the pitch-black mountains. The dude steps out with an ice-cold expression. He silently scans the dead quiet night as evil begins to stir. On a rooftop corner, two guys are talking. One of them speaks first. Heard we just got a new shipment of the white stuff, yeah? It's called newfound, the other one replies. Uh-huh, heard the smugglers used it for payment instead of cash, right? Just as he asks, one of them whips his head around, on high alert. Right then, the white-haired man approaches. One guy blurts out, "The hell? We got company?" A guy jumps to his feet asking, "Hold up. Where do you think you're going?" He suddenly pulls a gun on him. "Show me an invitation. Now." The other guy's face is filled with fear. This? In a flash, the white-haired man pulls the trigger. The gunshot rings out, and the guy in black drops dead in front of his buddy's horrified eyes. The other guy's eyes go wide in terror. "What the hell?" The white-haired dude says in a low voice. "Isn't this what you wanted?" Inside, a female DJ pauses, then picks up her phone. In front of her is a crew in black suits, partying hard. They're vampires. One of them licks his lips, his red eyes flashing. Then he bares his fangs in anger. She trembles, her eyes welling up with tears of fear. "Hey," he snarls aggressively, "you're killing the vibe. Find a better track." To them, humans are nothing but prey. The guy grumbles, "Pick a banger and crank it up." "Is that so hard?" He slowly gets up and stalks toward her. He gets right in the female DJ's face. Then he glares, baring his fangs. "Why should I have to hold back this craving anymore? Or maybe just a toy." Suddenly, the door is kicked open by a man. The creep with his hands on the DJ's neck whips his head around to look. But there's one thing that even vampires are terrified of. One of them gets slammed to the floor. This immediately gets the attention of the vampire horde. They all jump to their feet, pissed off. The man speaks up. "Damn, look at your ugly mugs," he says with a taunting voice. "Having fun?" The corner of the white-haired man's mouth quirks up. "We call them vampire hunters." A vampire roars. "Who the hell are you? Looks like you didn't get an invitation." They were about to show their fangs and claws but got shot down. The white-haired man raises his gun. "What a pain. I'm starting to feel sorry for you guys." In his other hand, he holds a sword. "I get that you're desperately looking for your parents, Joc, but I never expected this." The white-haired guy silently moves forward. That the members of the legendary Geo clan would stoop so low as to team up with these third-rate gangsters. If the old man saw this mess, what would he even say? His expression turns to ice. He'd probably shed a tear. Tears that a dead man like him shouldn't even be able to cry anymore. Facing him is the vampire. The white-haired guy seems a bit thrown off by his words. The vampire licks his lips, his eyes filled with bloodlust. The priest with the long, silver hair, the one kicked out of the Vatican, the true vampire hunter. "Sylvester, I'm gonna paint this night black with your blood." The second he finishes, the vampires all bare their fangs, while the white-haired guy remains totally unfazed. What a rude way to treat a guest. Suddenly, his sword flashes with a blinding light. "Is this because you have no parents?" he says slowly. "In the beginning of time, God created Adam from clay. The vampires are still bearing their fangs. And from Adam's rib, he created Eve." A blinding light erupts. The vampires fall under his blade. Death is the sacred ritual to return to the Garden of Eden. Dust to dust, ashes to ashes. The white-haired man faces the last one. "Looks like I'm not getting anything out of you." He continues with a serious face. "Because the very thought of wanting to kill me proves you're the most useless one in this pathetic pack of mongrels." The vampire's face darkens at his words. He roars and lunges at the white-haired man. "Shut up." The white-haired man spins the gun in his hand. Then, he fires off a series of shots. The vampire stretches out its arm and keeps charging, then swings its arm to attack the white-haired guy. He looks slightly surprised. "So, you're one of those that can mutate, huh?" This time, the other guy leaps straight into the air, but the white-haired man is quicker on the trigger. A loud bang echoes, and the vampire's arm is blown clean off. He quickly glances over and then delivers a swift kick to the guy's gut. The vampire is covered in wounds, its face all messed up. The kick sends him flying. The vampire slams hard onto the floor, sending splinters of wood everywhere. Suddenly, a voice rings out. "Can you take it easy on them?" Someone walks over to the bodies on the ground and chides him. "If you keep slaughtering them like this, there won't be much blood left to collect." This newcomer is another vampire hunter. The white-haired man asks, "Where's Song Deok-sun?" The new guy immediately replies, "I'm just his substitute for today." He continues, "Anyway, it's a fact that the Joc clan is working with the Sangdong gang." The two of them stand there in the dead silence. I can't believe they'd have a den in a place like this. What a perfect sanctuary to breed their kind. The white-haired guy suddenly cuts him off. Less yapping, more working. The vampire's eyes snap open. Run immediately, shouts a warning to the white-haired guy. He pulls out his gun, aims, and fires. The creature dashes away. The white-haired man watches him go, his gaze sharp and cold. The vampire gets hit by a volley of bullets, but he grits his teeth and keeps running. Then the vampire zips past the two men. It's quiet outside the door. Then suddenly, the vampire comes crashing out. He's making a desperate escape. The white-haired man is hot on his tail. The two of them watch him go. Run blurts out, "Damn, he's fast." The white-haired guy turns to, "Run, I'm leaving the cleanup to you." Run wonders out loud, why not just let him go? With those wounds, he's gonna die soon anyway. The white-haired man threatens him with a cold tone. "If you run your mouth like that one more time, you'll be the one dying early at my hands." Run quickly waves him off with a nervous laugh. "Geez, just a joke." The white-haired man's voice is dead serious. "Do I look like I'm joking?" Run gives a thumbs up. "I'll try to get this cleaned up. Leave it to me." Then he just strolls off, whistling. The white-haired dude lets out a quiet sigh. This is getting complicated. He looks up at the sky, lost in thought. He's completely lost his mind. The process of turning feral is kicking into high gear. At the same time, down below, a bright light flashes by as a bunch of guys on motorcycles speed past. Behind them, police cars chase them with sirens blaring. "Hey, you damn freaks, slow down if you don't want to die." The blonde girl flips him off. "Yeah, go ahead and try to kill us." Up above, the white-haired guy kept thinking that tonight, the kid on the motorcycle down there was going to be a sacrifice for the white moon. That kid was Han Se-gun. His dad, man, his life was completely carefree. A detached house with a yard, a businessman father, a homemaker mother, and a model student for an older brother. They even had a golden retriever named Jindak. Back in the blinding lights of the night, the street racers were still tearing it up like maniacs. Se-gun was riding too, thinking to himself, "Compared to them, I'm a nobody. No ambition, not smart enough for school. I guess that's why I'm always trying to escape my normal life." The blonde girl frantically urged him on. "Babe, he's still right on our ass. How are we gonna shake him?" She glanced nervously at her boyfriend. "Hey, Yongjane, don't tell me you can't do it. What are we gonna do? I already flipped him off and cussed him out like crazy." The red-haired dude immediately snapped. "Seriously, just sit tight." The whole crew recklessly sped up. The girl wouldn't stop complaining. "'Cause all you know is how to stick to the boring path everyone else takes." Han Se-gun, who was in the lead, suddenly swerved. Seeing this, the blonde girl couldn't help but ask, "Hey Han Se-gun, what are you doing? Where are you going?" He revved the engine, popped a wheelie, then whipped the bike right past the guardrail. The sight left everyone stunned. Se-gun turned sharp and sped off. He closed his eyes for a second, just to feel it. Then Se-gun launched the bike, landing it cleanly. The bike skidded, leaving a long mark on the ground. He pushed up his visor and looked up. The kids up top immediately asked, "Hey Han Se-gun, ditching us to run away alone?" But he just thought to himself, this was my moment. He pulled his visor down over his eyes and vanished in a flash. As Se-gun rode, he thought, riding is my escape from this lame life stuck in the same old ruts. It's my only rebellion. Han Se-gun got back home. He brushed the dust off his jacket and went to open the door. "Why's Jindak so quiet today? Is he asleep?" Han Se-gun called into the house. "I'm home." A thick smell filled the air, making him cover his nose. What is that smell? He looked down, a feeling of dread washing over him. A red liquid was pooling at Se-gun's feet. He gasped in horror. Blood. Se-gun's eyes darted around, his mind racing. In the dark, unlit entryway, a foul stench like rotting mackerel assaulted his nose. Fear flashed in his eyes. Han Se-gun knew something was dead wrong. Someone definitely broke into our house. He grabbed a sword from nearby. "Mom, Dad, my brother." A shadow suddenly fell over him. "Is anyone there?" Jindak lunged, tackling him. Han Se-gun stared at the animal, baring its sharp fangs. Jindak was attacking him like a maniac. Han Se-gun's eyes welled with tears as he swung the sword hard, knocking Jindak away. He scrambled to his feet, gripping the sword in a fighting stance. He stared at the savage animal in front of him. Is this really Jindak? It opened its mouth wide and suddenly leaped at him. But Han Se-gun was faster and struck first. But he was faster and struck first. No way. Images of the sweet, old Jindak flashed in his mind. Don't tell me that's Jindak. Afterwards, Se-gun threw the sword far away. He stood frozen, looking at his parents lying on the floor, exhaustion etched onto his face. He bent over, breathing heavily, and then broke down into gut-wrenching sobs. Jindak, and Mom and Dad, too. What the hell happened here? Han Se-gun clutched his head, his heart twisting in pain. He suddenly heard a noise inside the house. The second floor. It's still in the house. Han Se-gun's gaze immediately snapped in that direction. This isn't over. He suddenly remembered his dad kept a shotgun in his study. As soon as he stepped into the room, Han Se-gun froze when he saw his brother had already collapsed. He thought grimly, "They killed my brother, too." Se-gun gently placed a hand on his brother's shoulder, his voice filled with regret. "I'm sorry. If only I'd gotten home a little sooner." Han Se-gun burst into tears, then he picked up the gun, determined to kill every last one of them. Se-gun looked at the gun, which was still warm, his mind filled with questions. My brother must have used this to fight back. But why didn't the killer take the gun? Han Se-gun gritted his teeth in anger. "You think I can't kill you?" He began to walk slowly. "I should have realized it back then." Han Se-gun started up the stairs, but for a normal person to come to that conclusion was practically impossible. He searched carefully, because a sudden noise rang out. The thing was slowly approaching Se-gun. He immediately raised the gun and pulled the trigger, but the thing just kept reaching out, getting closer. Se-gun's eyes widened in pure shock at the scene unfolding before him, a presence that was far beyond human comprehension. A vampire revealed itself from behind the wall. A detached house with a yard, a businessman father, a homemaker mother, and a model student for an older brother. They even had a dog, a golden retriever named Jindak. Back in the blinding lights of the night, the street racers were still tearing it up like maniacs. Se-gun was riding too, thinking to himself, compared to them, I'm a nobody. No ambition, not smart enough for school. I guess that's why I'm always trying to escape my normal life. The blonde girl frantically urged him on. Babe, he's still right on our ass. How are we gonna shake him? She glanced nervously at her boyfriend. Hey, Yong Jane, don't tell me you can't do it. What are we gonna do? I already flipped him off and cussed him out like crazy. The red-haired dude immediately snapped. For real, just sit tight. The whole crew recklessly sped up, but the girl wouldn't stop complaining, cause all you know is how to stick to the boring path everyone else takes. Han Se-gun, who was in the lead, suddenly swerved. Seeing this, the blonde girl couldn't help but ask, Hey Han Se-gun, what are you doing? Where are you going? He revved the engine, popped a wheelie, then whipped the bike right past the guardrail. The sight left everyone stunned. Se-gun turned sharp and sped off. He closed his eyes for a second, just to feel it. Then Se-gun launched the bike, landing it cleanly. The bike skidded, leaving a long mark on the ground. He pushed up his visor and looked up. The kids up top immediately asked, Hey Han Se-gun, ditching us to run away alone? But he just thought to himself, this was my moment. He pulled his visor down over his eyes and vanished in a flash. As Han Se-gun rode, he thought, riding is my escape from this lame life, stuck in the same old ruts. My only rebellion. Han Se-gun got back home. He brushed the dust off his jacket and went to open the door. Why's Jindak so quiet today? Is he asleep? Han Se-gun called into the house. I'm home. A thick smell filled the air, making him cover his nose. What is that smell? He looked down, a feeling of dread washing over him. A red liquid was pooling at Se-gun's feet. He gasped in horror. Blood. Han Se-gun's eyes darted around, his mind racing. In the dark, unlit entryway, a foul stench like rotting mackerel assaulted his nose. Fear flashed in his eyes. Han Se-gun figured something was seriously wrong. Someone had definitely broken into our house. He snatched the sword beside him. A shadow suddenly fell over Se-gun. Is someone there? Jindak lunged straight for him. Han Se-gun stared at the animal, baring its sharp fangs. Jindak. It was attacking him like a psycho. Han Se-gun's eyes started to water. He swung the sword hard, knocking Jindak away. Han Se-gun shot up, gripping the sword in a battle stance. He looked at the crazed animal in front of him. Was that really Jindak? It opened its mouth wide and suddenly jumped at him, but Se-gun was faster and struck first. No way. The image of the sweet, old Jindak flashed in his mind. It can't be Jindak. Then, Han Se-gun threw the wind-cleaving sword away. Han Se-gun stared blankly at his parents lying on the floor, exhaustion showing on his face. Han Se-gun bent over, breathing heavily, then burst into tears. Jindak, and my parents too. What happened in this house? Han Se-gun hugged Jindak, his stomach twisting in knots, when he suddenly heard a noise inside. The second floor. It's still in the house. Han Se-gun's eyes immediately shot in that direction. This isn't over. He suddenly remembered his dad kept a shotgun in his office. As soon as he stepped into the room, Han Se-gun froze when he saw his older brother had collapsed. He thought grimly, they killed my brother too. Han Se-gun gently placed a hand on his brother's shoulder. I'm sorry, if only. His voice was filled with regret. If only. Then Se-gun started crying again. I'd come home just a little bit earlier. He picked up the gun. I'm gonna kill every last one of them. Se-gun looked at the gun, which was still warm, and his mind filled with questions. He must have used the gun to fight, but why didn't the killer take it? Han Se-gun gritted his teeth in anger. You think I can't kill you? He walked slowly. I should have realized it back then. Han Se-gun walked up the stairs, but for a normal person to come to that conclusion was basically impossible. He searched carefully when suddenly a sound rang out. The thing was slowly approaching Saegun. He immediately raised the gun and pulled the trigger, but the thing just reached its hand out, getting closer. Han Se-gun's eyes widened in pure shock at the scene unfolding before him. It was a presence far beyond human understanding. A vampire revealed itself from behind the wall. There are moments in life that leave you totally speechless, where you feel nothing, where no emotion comes up at all. It's that moment when your mind seems to completely freeze. For example, when you meet your favorite artist in person for the first time, or when you hear a really bad joke. Han Se-gun was driving while watching the sunset. His eyes had that same indescribably blank look you get when you see a scene that's too beautiful to be real. And when the dark memory resurfaced along with the tall monster, Han Se-gun's face was covered in blood, and he trembled with fear, tears welling in his eyes. Han Se-gun gritted his teeth, grabbing the gun in his hand and aiming it at the monster. A loud bang echoed as he pulled the trigger, but the monster dodged and was now rushing toward him at an insane speed. It used its massive hand to swat Se-gun hard. As expected, he was sent flying backward. His body felt like it was sinking into endless pain. He squeezed his eyes shut as the pain hit him, unable to open them. He turned his head, forcing himself to look at his arm. He guessed silently, "I think my shoulder's dislocated." Han Se-gun tried to turn over and look behind him, thinking with deep regret, "I should have run." He dragged himself forward, trying to get his gun back. The monster on the other side was growling, looking absolutely terrifying. It was now much closer to him. Han Se-gun couldn't move. He could only sit there and watch it, helpless. "I should have called the police or begged the neighbors for help." He suddenly gripped the gun in his hand tightly. But in the moment when it actually happens, my mind went completely blank. I couldn't remember a single thing. Han Se-gun aimed the barrel of the gun at the monster. I don't know why, but at that moment, I couldn't think of anything else but killing that monster. The monster charged at him with a hideous face. Han Se-gun used his last ounce of strength, pulled the trigger, and screamed, "You son of a bitch." The shot lodged right in its arm. It didn't even flinch and just hit him with its other arm. The arm holding the gun was torn off, leaving Han Se-gun in shock. Before he could react, tears streamed down his face. The monster pounced on him violently. It grabbed his head and lifted him up, leaving Han Se-gun dangling in midair. He was so hopeless he couldn't speak. "I can't even get revenge for my family. Mom, Dad, Hyung, Jin-dak, I'm sorry everyone." Bang! The monster's arm exploded before it could kill him. It dropped him to the ground in pain. "You did that the moment you walked in," a voice said. The monster looked in that direction. "So, you finally decided to step in, huh?" A pistol was raised. The person didn't say a word, just kept unloading bullets into the monster. Han Se-gun still had no idea what was happening. The monster was riddled with holes, just standing there watching the person prepare to execute it. He coldly delivered 2 fatal slashes. The person frowned and said softly, "If you were going to die, you should have chosen to disappear quietly on your own." He walked over to Han Se-gun, standing in front of him without a word. After a moment, he finally began to speak, his voice low and slow. He pronounced judgment. "There is no one righteous, not even one, and all of you in this world are sinners." He pressed the sword to his neck, growling, "Hate me." The man's eyes were ice cold. He was probably looking around when he saw his severed arm. He looked down at the boy and asked, "Let me ask you something." He spoke softly, "Is that shotgun yours?" But by now, he was too exhausted to even open his eyes. He still didn't get an answer from Han Se-gun. The fact that he passed out seemed to disappoint him a little. He just stood there, continuing to stare at him. He thought to himself, "You're so good that I can't bring myself to kill you." It was a life without a care in the world. The next morning, someone's frantic shouting rang out. "Kid, the scene of the incident is still intact." "Hey kid, maybe that was the reason I always wanted to escape my ordinary life." The police officer saw him open his eyes and quickly asked, "Are you okay? Can you hear me?" The officer turned and yelled, signaling to everyone, "We've got a survivor over here. Get someone over here." In the last remnants of his consciousness, Han Se-gun managed to call out, "Mom, Dad." The world seemed to go quiet, following the flow of Han Se-gun's thoughts. Bro, that wish. It came true. After that, he completely passed out. The news was on. An incident a week ago caused a considerable stir. The mysterious death of a family. The second son survived. The Han family's application for public listing, IPO procedures. The news anchor's voice droned on. "You mean the incident where an entire family was attacked and killed by their pet dog?" OBC News on the mysterious family death case. The second son made it out alive. Yeah, right. More deets are coming out. But are we seriously supposed to believe they were offed by their pet dog? Seriously? Okay, so Mr. Han, our crew is all over the survivor, you know, the guy who just happened to be holding a shotgun when it all went down. The family annihilation case. The survivor, Han, owned a shotgun. And guess what? Witnesses confirmed he actually fired the damn thing. Some kid they interviewed was like, I heard his brother was a total brainiac, so maybe he was just jealous? Who knows? Even some street punk had to chime in. He's kinda big in the biker scene, a total thug, but yeah, super suspicious. The media vultures were all over the place, shoving cameras in his face. Sae-gun just stood there, under those soul-piercing lights, totally stone-faced. I don't think I'd ever seen so many damn faces in my entire life. The screams and questions just kept piling on, echoing all around me. What happened? Just tell us the truth. They were demanding answers like I owed them a damn thing. Why'd you pull the trigger? They kept shoving, desperate to hear why I'd want to slaughter my own family in such a messed up way. The pressure was crushing. They just stared at me, like they were trying to rip out every single secret I had buried deep inside. A mic gets shoved in my face. Give us something more. And just like that, the image of that freakish monster from that night flashes in my head. Its creepy, deep voice, like an echo from hell, was burned into my brain. What's the matter? You're the one who wanted this, Han Se-gun. You're the one who was driving like a maniac while your family got butchered. It just kept tormenting Se-gun's mind. You think you actually have the right to be pissed off? He was shaking, sweating buckets, totally zoned out. Han Se-gun just turned and booked it, screaming his head off. That's not it. I was running for my damn life from something I couldn't even recognize. Honestly, I don't remember it all that clearly. No. Maybe I just don't want to remember. He cried as he ran, tears of pure desperation streaming down his face, because I refused to believe any of what I went through was real. And that's when I realized what I had to do. The monster's body had vanished into thin air, and my severed arm was somehow reattached. If only everything that happened that day was just a lie. If only it never happened. If only something could tell me to just forget it all, my family's death, that pack of monsters, and him. A blurry image of a man appeared in his mind. I can't go outside. He was huddled in a corner, because nobody would ever believe me if I told them. But I can't stay cooped up in this house forever, either, because this place, it's where all my worst memories are still perfectly preserved. Se-gun threw the garage door open, revealing the dust-covered bikes. I had no one to turn to, so I went for my trusty motorcycle. Se-gun's eyes were completely dead, like a black hole, both inside and out. He started his bike and tore off into the pitch-black night. Who knows how far he went before he finally killed the engine and parked in some deserted area. Se-gun yanked off his helmet, his face still completely wiped out. He stared out at the sprawling, glittering city, but there was no place left in it for him. Then, something caught his eye. Han Se-gun's face hardened as he looked up. Huh? The silhouette of that man, from that night. He was standing on some steps. Han Se-gun knew instantly. It was definitely him. The guy tilted his head, looking totally unfazed, like nothing in the world could touch him. The roar of the bike's engine thundered. Se-gun gunned it, flying towards him and screeching to a halt right in his path. He jumped off his bike and yelled, "It was you, wasn't it?" Han Se-gun pointed a trembling finger at the guy. "I'm sure of it. You were in my house," he screamed, completely freaking out. "It was you! Don't even try to deny it." The day that monster attacked, the man's face went cold, his voice dangerously low as he commanded, "Quiet. You're a real pain in the ass to everyone around you, you know that? Stop screaming your head off in the middle of the night." Han Se-gun looked up, his eyes wide with fear, his voice catching in his throat. "Who the hell are you?" he demanded again and again. "And what were those monsters?" But the guy was totally calm. "What do you think? Use that imagination of yours." Han Se-gun stammered out a guess. "Don't tell me. You're an exorcist or something?" Hearing that, the man just replied, "Close enough." The more Se-gun heard, the more he freaked out, his face twisting in panic. "Then, what about the monster I saw?" The man's voice sharpened. "Are you saying you saw a vampire?" Then, he confirmed it without a shred of doubt. Exactly. The sheer weight of that information left Han Se-gun completely stunned. "Huh?" The man didn't beat around the bush. "Look, since we're already here, I'm just gonna ask you straight up. Did you swallow any of the vampire's blood?" He looked down at his palm, his face drained of all color. "A few drops. They splattered on me when that thing got shot. But, no way. Am I turning into a vampire too?" The guy stated it bluntly. "If you swallowed its blood, it's a definite possibility." Han Se-gun started to panic, looking down at his arm. Then, "This arm?" The man explained. "No, I reattached that myself." Se-gun immediately shot back. "That's insane. Bullcrap." The guy didn't even flinch and just asked, "Does what you saw mean anything to you, or not?" Se-gun looked down, finally speaking up. "Those vampires. There are a lot more of them out there, aren't there?" The man glanced at him, his words brutally cold. "Whether they exist or not has absolutely nothing to do with you. All you need to worry about right now is going back to your normal life." The second he said that, Se-gun's face twisted with rage. He whipped around and screamed at him, totally losing it. "You think that's even possible? I've lost everything," he screamed, his voice filled with desperation and helplessness. "Normal? How the hell am I supposed to go back to a normal life? Instantly, the man grabbed Han Se-gun by the collar and lifted him clean off the ground. His face was dark, practically radiating rage as he snarled, "What? You think you're special or something? Stop your damn whining. You're not the only one with a crap ton of bad luck." Han Se-gun just stared, stammering. "So?" He got pissed all over again, shoving the guy's hand off and screaming like a maniac. "Then what the hell am I supposed to do now? I saw those goddamn monsters chew up my entire family with my own 2 eyes. How am I supposed to just live my life and forget about that?" Se-gun choked on his words, trembling. "I can't do it. I can't." His eyes went bloodshot. Pure hatred boiled over as he swore an oath. "I'll wipe every single one of them out, even if it kills me." The man just stood there silently, watching Se-gun, his eyes sharp and completely unreadable. Then he let out a sigh. "What a pain in the ass, kid." A door opened with the gentle jingle of a bell from inside. Seo Seon-hui was in the middle of a conversation with another man, this one with a scarred face. Seeing a familiar teammate, she greeted him warmly. "You're here, Sylvester?" Sylvester reminded her coldly. "I told you not to call me Sylvester." Noticing Se-gun with him, Seo Seon-hui exclaimed in a friendly tone, "Oh my, we have another guest." The man who was in the bar earlier shot up and demanded, "So, it's you?" The kid, they said, survived that day. Sylvester strode forward, continuing to press him. "Is there a problem with the matter we discussed?" The man with the scar on his face quickly reported the news. "It seems the one we're hunting has already left South Korea." Sylvester sat down, annoyed, and grumbled with frustration. "So after all that effort tracking him, we just lost him?" The scarred man approached him and asked in a low voice, "By the way, why'd you bring that guy with you? He looks way too weak to start training." Sylvester's expression turned dead serious. "You of all people should know from experience, right? Fighting monsters isn't something humans are meant to do. The second you let your guard down, they'll snap your bones and rip your muscles to shreds. How the hell are we supposed to beat something like that? It's called a phantom moon. To defeat a vampire, a human has to swallow this." Sylvester continued slowly. "If you eat this, the pain will disappear, and it allows you to use power many times greater than normal. But the more you use it, the more your body deteriorates. You'll just become more dependent on that power until you die alone. Because it's made from a vampire's blood, one wrong move can turn you into one of them. Do you still want your revenge? Let me be clear. Once you step into the darkness, you can never return to the real world." As if he'd made up his mind, Han Se-gun decisively snatched the pill from Sylvester. "Not being able to return to reality sounds a lot like my life right now." He quickly grabbed his hand, adding coldly, "What do you think you're doing? Who told you to eat it right now?" Suddenly, both of their gazes shifted in the same direction. This burly man was the vampire hunter, Song Deok's son. He remarked calmly, "This guy is a strange one. Good, he's got guts." Sylvester quickly entrusted the new recruit to his teammate. "Song Deok's son, I'm leaving this kid to you, so try to make him strong enough not to die," he asserted confidently. "Piece of cake." He patted Se-gun's head with his huge hand and said cheerfully, "Hey kid, welcome to the world of the moon." With that settled, Sylvester stood up and quickly gave the next order. "Seo Seon-hui, arrange a ship to Mexico immediately." Song Deok's son asked Han Se-gun warmly, "You doing okay, kid?" When he heard that Sylvester was going on a business trip, Han Se-gun looked completely lost. He hurried after Sylvester. "You're going abroad? Aren't you supposed to be my trainer?" He just let out a cold, disbelieving laugh. Sylvester asked Song Deok's son directly, "Do you think you can make him useful?" He pulled out a cigarette and replied decisively, "I'll do my best." Sylvester's voice rang out coldly. "Let me say it again. Welcome to the world of the moon, Han Se-gun." 1 year passed after that event. Now, at Club Bania, a line of fancy cars was parked along the curb, and someone was respectfully holding a car door open. The man who had just stepped out was Yang Ho, the underboss of the Sangdong gang. From inside the club, a subordinate ran out enthusiastically to welcome the VIP. "You're here, Hyung Nim." Yang Ho clapped him on the shoulder. "Don't call me Hyung Nim, you moron. I told you to call me senior. We're supposed to be respectable businessmen running a legitimate enterprise now, aren't we?" The subordinate could only nod along obediently. "Yes, that's right," Yang Ho asked with a smile. "Whatever, why'd you call me?" This senior Hyung has been pretty busy these days. At his question, the subordinate stammered an answer. "Well, the thing is." Inside the club, a massive brawl just broke out. Under the dim lights, only one young man was left standing tall. Yang Ho growled, annoyed. "You called me over for this little piece of crap?" The subordinate could only confess timidly, "Yes, sir." Yang Ho directly chewed out his underling. "You idiot, can't you manage this place properly?" He bowed his head low, accepting the blame and fear. "I'm sorry, Hyung Nim. No. I mean, senior." Quietly observing the young man below, Yang Ho commented, "Is this the bastard who wrecked our hideout? I thought the guy he was talking about was a foreigner." He assessed him skeptically. He looks pretty young to be making such a scene here, Yang Ho shouted in frustration. Are you gonna stop causing trouble or what? You little punk. In my entire life, I've never seen a thug like you. In a free, democratic nation, if you want something, you open your mouth and ask. What the hell do you think you're doing? We're about to open for business. Looking closer, he saw it was Saegun. He shot back coldly. You call me a thug? I clearly paid the deposit in full, but you didn't give me what I needed. Isn't that reason enough for me to do this? Faced with his attitude, Yang Ho ground his teeth and cursed. You piece of, but was cut off by Han Saegun. Don't tell me you don't know. 5 million gold in cash went to your subordinate, but you, an executive director, don't know about it? Isn't this just a gangster organization? A flicker of surprise crossed Yang Ho's face. He turned to his subordinate and asked, What's he talking about? Are you messing with me? What stuff? The subordinate could only stammer an explanation. That. Han Saegun coldly pointed out each item. 1 Dragunov, 1 Tokarev. He emphasized the final item with a growl, and 1 AK-47. Yang Ho smirked, finding the situation ridiculous. You're asking for all that for just 5 million won? Does this little brat have any concept of prices? Hey, do you have any idea what you're saying? Han Saegun's cold attitude didn't waver. About what? That your Sangdong gang is hoarding Russian and Chinese weapons to distribute, and that you're jacking up the prices way above market value? Hitting a nerve, Yang Ho flinched and turned to leave. Why am I stooping to talk to this arrogant punk? I'll just report him to the cops and hand him over. Han Saegun asked casually. You think that's a good idea? Your damn Sangdong gang sells knives and guns, but I can also expose the fact that you're dealing drugs too. Hearing this, Yang Ho could no longer ignore him. You guys know what to do? He ordered his men furiously. Tear him to pieces, now. Han Saegun was quickly surrounded by 2 huge goons. He just cracked his knuckles, his eyes full of killing intent as he stared them down. Han Saegun swiftly dodged the bald guy's attack. He shot like a bullet toward the other one. He gripped the knife tight, getting ready to pounce. But before he could even blink, Han Saegun decked him with 1 punch, his bangs falling over 1 eye. Baldy tried to jump him while he was distracted, but Han Saegun dodged it like it was nothing. He shot back with a heavy fist to the dude's back, knocking him out cold. Yang Ho saw Han Saegun's power and couldn't freaking believe it. He took down 2 guys, all by himself? The guy's back just screamed badass. Han Saegun strode forward, and the old dude was shaking so bad he could barely talk. What the hell do you want? He just reminded him why he was there. The 47 Dragunov Tokarevs. Hand him over. I already paid you. Yang Ho tried to weasel his way out of it. Alright, but you know we can't complete the deal right away, don't you? It's not like we carry that stuff around with us all the time. The guy was obviously stalling. At least give us a time and a place to meet so we can. Han Saegun cut him off and set the time. Tomorrow, 8 p.m. Then he added the location. Guido, the Hongxinyang Securities parking lot. Yang Ho was pissed, but he was trapped. That cold-blooded son of a bitch. Brown hair rushed over. Are you okay, Sun Binham? But the old dude just slapped him right across the face. You're supposed to call me Hyung Nim. Brown hair didn't dare talk back. Yes, Hyung Nim. Yang Ho gritted his teeth, his face all twisted up. Guess we have no other choice. Tell the guys to get over here. Later that afternoon, at a warehouse next to a mountain, someone suddenly spoke up. The quality these days is total garbage, Lao Dudu complained loudly. Seriously, it's trash. Most of the blood you're buying doesn't even have a rating of 20. Song Deok-sun was at a loss. Well, most of the punks running wild these days are from the Sangdong gang. He was still super suspicious. Yeah, but even if you mix it with mutt blood, isn't the stat still way too low? You didn't mess with the machine, did you? Lao Dudu couldn't be bothered to explain. Look, if you don't trust me, go find someone else. You think this machine is just some normal piece of junk? The guy got all tense. I was just saying, geez. Can't you take a joke? Old man Lao Dudu shoved a bag of money at Song Duk-sun. Just shut your whining and take the cash. So this is Lao Dudu, the vampire blood dealer in Korea. He seemed concerned about Han Saegun. By the way, that Han Saegun kid, I heard on the news his whole family was murdered by vampires. You still haven't been able to get a hold of him since then? He casually walked off. Why'd you have to bring up such an unlucky name? Isn't he probably off somewhere having fun swinging a sword around? To be honest, I couldn't care less if he turns into a vampire or not. Song Deok-sun just ignored his question. I'm outta here, Lao Dudu. Lao Dudu could only sigh. He's never honest with himself. He grabbed the money bag and was leaving the warehouse when he suddenly froze in his tracks. Turns out, he saw someone he knew. You just get here, Han Saegun? Song Deok-sun started messing with him. You haven't been out picking fights, have you? Han Saegun tried to act like nothing was wrong. No, I haven't done anything. The old guy saw right through his act. Then why are you avoiding my gaze, huh? He was feeling pretty cocky about his own skills. Hey, wait a minute. Doesn't this mean I can go hunt vampires now? Song Deok-sun, shut that down real quick. With your current skills, you're not even close to ready, kiddo. Get those ridiculous thoughts out of your head and focus on training. He kept hammering it in. I know you're itching for a fight cause your skills got a tiny bit better, but don't go picking fights with people for no reason. Han Se-gun promised him. You're worrying too much. It's not gonna happen. Song Deok-sun seemed to relax a little. Alright then. He hadn't finished his sentence before Han Se-gun cut in and asked him directly. If I have to kill someone, what should I do? The guy was calmer than ever. Then you just kill them. Song Deok-sun trusted his judgment. If killing them is necessary, then there's nothing else to consider, though I don't know what kind of situation would make that necessary. He just nodded in agreement. I get it. The old guy immediately snapped at him. You little brat. You're already off in La La Land again, aren't you? Song Deok-sun wanted to push Se-gun to get back to training. Alright, let's hit the gym. Let's sweat it out in the ring for a bit. It's been a while. Making you feel tired, huh? Se-gun's screams echoed through the entire space. Skyscrapers packed tightly together. A bunch of goons were waiting outside in a car. The younger vampire was super confused. Are we really going this far just to catch one kid? The older vampire didn't want to make a scene. He tried his best to reason with him. You shouldn't be thinking like that. Even if we became vampires, we still have to be loyal to Hyung Nim. The other guy was still holding a grudge. Loyalty. My ass. Don't you remember last year, when our whole crew was torn to shreds for the Geop gang's amusement, and we had to take the fall just because we're vampires now? The younger vamp was so busy ranting, he didn't see what was happening outside the window. And now, we just have to go catch some smart-ass kid. A fire extinguisher smashed through the car window before the older vampire could block it. White smoke started to cover the car, and just like that, Se-gun was already on the scene. The younger vampire got out of the car. You already took care of the vamps outside? They haven't been vampires for long, but they were still tough fighters. He was clearly trying to get under Se-gun's skin. Did you have your fun, you cold-hearted little bastard? The younger vampire was intentionally trying to provoke him. But what should we do now? Cause I don't think we're gonna give you what you asked for. Han Se-gun wasn't worried at all. I wasn't expecting you to. The guy froze on the spot. What? He asked, his voice dripping with scorn. What the hell would I expect from a bunch of gangsters? Han Se-gun cracked a sinister smile. But what if I just pull out your fangs and sell them instead? I'd say that's a pretty profitable deal, don't you think? Meanwhile, Song Deok-sun had dug up some info. It seems the vampire who killed your family has been in contact with the Sangdong gang. Han Se-gun was stunned. The Sangdong gang? He just wanted to confirm. You mean vampires are working with a bunch of thugs? Han Se-gun was relentlessly attacking him. Song Deok-sun quickly threw a counterpunch. He held his breath, getting ready to land a punch with his left fist. But Han Se-gun nailed him in the side. Song Deok-sun's face flushed with pain. Not bad. He changed the subject. Do you know why Sylvester's nickname is the True Vampire Hunter? He just froze. Why are you asking that all of a sudden? It's because he killed a real-deal vampire. Se-gun wasn't buying it. A real-deal vampire. Jew? Isn't that explanation a little too simple? The old man dropped a suspicious truth bomb. True vampires are the ones that are powerful, with stats over several 100,000. Their insane regeneration is stronger than sunlight, which lets them walk around even during the day. Song Deok-sun spilled some more tea. Turns out, among the real-deal vampires, the Jado clan was a pretty big name, even to other vamps. He was training like a maniac. Han Se-gun suddenly tensed up. Song Deok-sun threw a high kick straight at his face. Han Se-gun went flying. Song Deok-sun kept explaining, but after Sylvester took them out, they instantly lost all their cred. The kid finally started to get it. So you're saying the leftovers of the Joko clan teamed up with the Sangdong gang? The old man had one mission he couldn't fail. Find Joko. Han Se-gun was so gassed he could barely breathe. Find him? Song Deok-sun hauled him to his feet. They're trying to inherit Jay's power and get back to where they were. Han Se-gun flinched when the old guy suddenly grabbed his collar. Song Deok-sun slammed him to the ground with just one hand. He yelled, even if the Jado clan's rep is shot, their young master is still alive. The young master is the heir to the big boss, basically the clan's number 2. Song Deok-sun warned him, don't do anything stupid. Han Se-gun, if they target you, every second of your life will be a living hell. A younger vamp charged at him, and Se-gun just sped right past on his bike. He intentionally circled around, totally messing with the younger vamp. The older one asked, need a hand? The little guy snarled back, I got this. You stay out of it. The older one raised an eyebrow, annoyed. Is that an order? The lackey made it clear he was handling this alone. Just stay put, please. Se-gun used his sword from his bike. The younger vamp's arm got hit, and he was furious. Se-gun whipped the bike around like a pro. Se-gun dragged his sword on the ground, sending sparks everywhere. The vamp gritted his teeth, pissed. This crap again. He tried to stop the bike. You think I'm a joke? He decided to attack Se-gun bare-handed. Saegun didn't even flinch as the vamp charged right in front of his bike to strike. He dropped low, forcing Saegun to bail from his bike. The little vamp thought he was a genius. Totally called it. The dude was just swiping like a wild animal. Han Saegun tightened his grip on his sword, but to his shock, the vamp shattered it in two. He was just done with everything. Damn it, it snapped way too easily. This freaking stainless steel is useless, the vamp smirked. Having fun yet, you arrogant punk? Han Saegun didn't waste time talking. He just shut the little vamp up for good. In a flash, the dude was on his knees, looking at his buddy for help. The older vamp looked annoyed. Didn't you tell me to stay out of it? Han Saegun reminded the other guy. That's right. I poured a 5 to million investment into your organization. He gripped the hilt of the broken sword at the vamp's throat. Han Saegun's voice was low. I need to see a return on my investment, right? The guy's eyes were wide with fear. Saegun asked him, don't you agree? Then Han Saegun immediately logged him out of life. The older vamp was speechless. Damn, that punch packed some serious power. Han Saegun finally let out a satisfied smirk. The guy couldn't hide his curiosity. What's with the gauntlet, kid? Isn't that like 21st century tech? The older vamp was trying to get a rise out of him. Looks to me like you knew we'd show up. He shot back sarcastically. Why even bother trying so hard? Han Saegun made an offer. You want me to tell you my whole life story? He got into a fighting stance. Your head. Han Saegun wasn't wasting any more time. If you get what I'm saying, then cut the crap and let's go. The guy had zero intention of fighting. Now that's a new one. Are you nuts? I was just checking out your style. The older vamp wasn't fazed. Your sword's broken, and I know that gauntlet. He kicked the broken blade away. The vamp yelled out a challenge. Let's go all in. But Han Saegun still had his gun. He took aim and ended the older vamp. The guy went down, completely baffled. You son of a... Since when? Han Saegun stared down at the older vamp's body. Turns out, he had this planned all along. Told ya. Your head. Han Saegun calmly injected some red liquid into the corpse. He frowned, looking at his own injuries. Han Saegun hesitated, but injected the liquid into his bicep. He had no other choice. Instantly, pain flooded every cell in his body. Han Saegun's body seized up, and he screamed in agony. The scene was empty, except for Han Saegun. The corpse was completely gone. He got on his bike and rode away. Song Dok-sun was waiting outside and saw him. So, you're out now? The old man gestured at the bike and kept asking, feeling better after that little tantrum? Saegun ignored him and just asked, how'd you know I was here? Song Dok-sun didn't take it personally and just explained, ever heard of a little thing called GPS? Then he suddenly switched topics. Do kids not do that anymore? Han Saegun had no idea what he was talking about. Do what? The old man clarified. Your bike. It's not the same. Looks like you've pushed it to its limit. Song Dok-sun reminded him. You used to treat this thing like a holy relic. Han Saegun just ignored him and kicked up the stand. None of your business. And with that, he revved the engine and tore off down the empty street. Song Dok-sun could only sigh. The scene shifts, and we hear a voice coming from a block of buildings. The voice was pissed, tearing into Yang Ho. What do you mean they were all wiped out? I sent 6 of my guys. The guy bowed his head. I'm sorry, boss. Veins were bulging on Song Dong's forehead as he went on a tirade. Impressive. Just so impressive. He paced back and forth, blowing off steam. How were those morons supposed to know? Who the hell expects some street thug to just suddenly become a vampire hunter? Song Dong sat in his chair, clutching a bat. This is giving me a migraine. I looked the other way when those hunters snuck around and grabbed 1 or 2 of my men. His face was a mask of pure irritation, but this whole mess makes the Sangdong crew look like a joke. And that's Sangdong, the head of the Sangdong crew. After a moment, Yang Ho dared to ask quietly, should we contact the Row crew? That just pissed Sangdong off even more. You want to go public with my failure? You son of a bitch. The poor guy behind him paid the price for that. Suddenly coughing up blood, he calmed himself down and asked, you said he's some punk kid on a bike, right? Yang Ho scrambled to answer. We're not 100% sure, but yeah, probably. Sangdong coldly put on his jacket and gave the order. I don't care what it costs. Find him. He made the objective crystal clear for Yang Ho. Find it. And kill it. At any cost. The guy turned back, hesitating. Boss. But Sangdong's patience was shot. He roared, way too loud. You damn idiot. Are you deaf or something? Make sure you slit its throat. You hear me? The scene cuts to some other part of town. Song Dok-sun strolls out of the convenience store. He chucks a can over to Gun, like, here. He doesn't beat around the bush and gets right to the point with Song Dok-sun. You're the one who told me that the Sangdong crew is teaming up with the gang. The old man just nods at the info. So it seems, Han Saegun wondered why Song Dok-sun wasn't doing a damn thing. So, why the hell are you letting them run wild? Are you scared of some gangsters? The old man shot back immediately. Bullshit. Han Se-gun's brow furrowed, his voice getting higher as he grilled him. So what's the real reason? Because there's no money in it? Song Deok-sun just casually takes a sip of his drink and admits everything. You already know. Hearing that answer makes Han Se-gun slam the table, totally enraged. Those bastards deserve to die. Whether there's a profit or not, you've let those vampires live for way too long. He kept laying into Song Deok-sun for his inaction. Aren't they just spreading a damn plague? Even though Han Se-gun was pissed, he was still rational enough to argue for nipping the problem in the bud. Isn't it easier than trying to cut it down when it's fully grown? Or is it because you've never lost anything precious before? After hearing everything Han Se-gun had to say, Song Deok-sun finally spoke up. He didn't yell back, but asked softly, "Are you playing judge now? Deciding who dies and who doesn't?" Then Song Deok-sun just straight up laughed at the thought. Don't make me laugh. Once again, he reaffirmed his personal code. I wouldn't kill a mosquito for the sake of justice. I only kill for money and profit. Then Song Deok-sun switched subjects. What about you? Did you inject yourself with vampire blood yet? He looked at Se-gun's wound suspiciously. Didn't I tell you that Jae's blood causes mutations? What the hell? Song Deok-sun couldn't help but let out a sigh. Damn it. I never should have agreed to that real vampire hunter's deal. Finally, he decisively laid out a solution. Pack your stuff and get out today. I don't want to get dragged into trouble with the gang just because of you. Han Se-gun, being stubborn, immediately accepted it all. Fine, I'll go. Song Deok-sun watched his retreating back with a lot of sympathy. You have to face the fact that the sons of bitches who murdered your entire family are still out there, living freely. Anyone would go crazy over that. He was seriously second-guessing this decision. Lao do, why the hell did I even have to raise run? Finally, Song Deok-sun called out to Se-gun. He opened his car trunk and started providing weapons. I've prepped some swords and ammo for you. There's only about 500 rounds. Song Deok-sun looked at the weapons and couldn't help but comment, but you'll probably die before you use them all. He was like some old dad, constantly nagging Han Se-gun. Be careful. They were made in Hungary, and they're expired. Song Deok-sun kept muttering to himself, if you're lucky, the gun might actually fire. He bowed deeply, sincerely grateful to Deok-sun. Thank you for everything. The old man was lost in thought, not knowing what to say to this kid. Song Deok-sun ruffled Se-gun's hair, giving him some heartfelt advice. Don't become one of those things, like a vampire. Then he turned and walked away. If that happens, I won't show any mercy. I'll hunt you down. Right before he left completely, Song Deok-sun stressed, and I won't go easy on you just because I raised you. Han Se-gun was silent. The atmosphere felt thick. Then a powerful light shone through the darkness. He gripped the steering wheel, speeding through the air. Se-gun's silent tears started to fall. Filled with a new purpose, he was determined. That night, the moon was so beautiful it made me cry. Elsewhere, a group of people gathered around a fire. Yang Ho and his lackeys were also there. I'm Yang Ho from Sangdong Loan Services, some arrogant punk shouted back at him. So what? Yang Ho remained calm and explained coolly. I won't take up much of your time. Who's your boss? I need to talk. But Yong Jane cut him off. Yeah, I don't think so. He was acting all high and mighty, with a super arrogant look on his face. Do I have business with you, old man? That disrespectful attitude made Yang Ho go quiet. He frowned. Two of his henchmen stepped forward. I tried to be nice. Yang Ho just shoved his hands in his pockets and let his two vampire goons handle it. Why are kids these days so damn disrespectful? The flickering fire cast a dim light. Yang Ho stood there watching his underlings deal with Yong Jane. His buddies could only stand there and watch helplessly. The henchman easily got Yong Jane's arms pinned. His girlfriend was on the verge of tears, terrified. Just then, Yang Ho spoke up, reminding his subordinate. Hey, don't twist too hard. He still needs his hands to drive. He is a racer, after all. After getting a beatdown, Yong Jane quickly learned how to talk. Damn it, I'll do it. I'll do it. I said I'll do it. The old man looked down on him with a scornful gaze, like someone completely in charge. Then Yang Ho loudly ordered the person next to him, bring that thing here. When he saw the guy didn't understand, he cursed, the money bag. The bag in the truck. You idiot. Yang Ho slammed a briefcase of money down in front of Yong Jane. This is the down payment. He then stressed the plan to Yong Jane. I don't care if you use this to lure them with new cars or treat them to a fancy steak dinner. You figure it out. Yang Ho gritted his teeth. Veins were popping all over his body. Just make sure you bring that blue-haired high school punk to me. Then he kept pressing Yong Jane. That's all you have to do. Got it? At Yang Ho's command, the vampire henchman bared his sharp fangs as a warning. The old man just laughed and stopped him. Not on the neck. Yang Ho flashed a sinister grin. Too dangerous. We can't have you dying before we even get started. Seeing that smile, Yong Jane felt a deep sense of dread about his own fate. His horrifying screams echoed through the quiet space. Outside, Yang Ho was smoking a cigarette and didn't forget to comment. When night falls, Idiots get even dumber. He spoke casually, as if to himself, about his vampire henchmen. It'd be awesome if crosses or garlic could actually control them. Time passed quickly, and noon arrived. A bell rang at a shop. Seo Seon-hui turned and gently explained to the customer, "I'm sorry, we're closing now." But when she saw Han Se-gun walk in, she exclaimed, "Oh my god, is that Han Se-gun?" He replied politely to Seo Seon-hui, "It's been a while, hasn't it? 4 months." She started complimenting his change in appearance. "Wow, you've turned into a handsome man. You've grown up so much." Han Se-gun explained it away casually. "I've been injecting growth hormones." Seo Seon-hui, as if she knew what was going on, asked, "So how does it feel, living on your own?" Han Se-gun looked at her, totally unsurprised. "Just like I thought. She knows everything." Seo Seon-hui turned and laid it all out for him. "Mr. Songdeok-sun raised you, 'cause someone asked him to. And since I'm Sylvester's rep in Korea, I at least get the reports." Then she glanced at Han Se-gun and cut to the chase. "But I'm guessing you're not here just for that. What's up?" He didn't mess around either. "I heard there was a tool, one used to track down vampires. Next thing you know, a necklace is sitting on the table." Seo Seon-hui introduced it. "It's a tool called a bloodstone pendulum." She laid out the pros and cons for Se-gun. "But tracking with this thing ain't easy. It can only detect vampires that are close by. But the detection range is only 20 meters, max." Without even blinking, he made up his mind. "I'll take it. Right now." Seo Seon-hui was taken aback and had to check again. "For real?" She crossed her arms, giving Han Se-gun some advice. "If that's what you want, I won't stop you, but it'd be smarter to spend your money wisely." Even after saying that, Seo Seon-hui tried to upsell him. "We also have a crossbow equipped with silver-tipped arrows. How about that?" He shot down that offer immediately. "I've already got a few Wezo," but then Han Se-gun brought up something else. "But I don't have a real weapon." Seo Seon-hui got the picture, so she wasn't all that shocked. "I'm guessing Old Man Do wouldn't sell you Phantom Moon, huh?" He clenched his fists, his voice dripping with frustration and defeat. "He probably hesitated to sell it to me because I'm just some punk kid." Seo Seon-hui was totally floored by this news. "Oh my god, there's no vampire dealer more trustworthy than Old Man Do. I think that just proves he's a man of principle." Then, all of a sudden, she perked up, remembering something. Seo Seon-hui bent over, digging around for it. "I have some stuff related to Universe 13. She offered it to Se-gun. "You'll at least take a look, right?" Seo Seon-hui held the item out to him, but not without a warning. "This stays between us, got it?" Se-gun, totally captivated by the thing, reached out to take it. "Thanks." But Seo Seon-hui snatched it back, wanting him to pay up first. "You know we don't take cards, right?" He'd totally forgotten. Startled, he pulled out some cash. And after that, Se-gun headed somewhere else. He just stood there, all pensive, like he was lost in his memories. Han Se-gun remembered what Sylvester had told him. "Did you drink a vampire's blood?" Han Se-gun would never forget that encounter with him. "Stop wallowing in self-pity. You're not the only one cursed with bad luck." What he remembered most was Sylvester's announcement. "Welcome to the world of the moon, Han Se-gun." Man, Han Se-gun thought, I wish I could see him again. It's been a year, hasn't it? Wonder when he'll ever come back to Korea. Suddenly, a voice called his name. "Yo, Han Se-gun." It was Yong-jane, and he'd brought his whole crew to find Han Se-gun. "Is that really you? No wonder we couldn't find your ass anywhere." He was still the same, constantly running his mouth. "Long time no see. You've changed so much I almost didn't recognize you. Been a year, huh? And what's with the hair?" Yong-jane's girlfriend cozied up to him, trying to be all cute. "And you're so tall now. You remember me, don't you, Han Se-gun?" Han Se-gun dodged her, having zero clue who she was. "Who is this?" Seeing that, Yong-jane just busted out laughing. "That mouth of yours hasn't changed a bit." Then suddenly, his whole vibe shifted, his voice getting all aggressive. "You naive little brat. The more I think about it, the more you piss me off." Veins started popping on Yong-jane's body as he faced him down. "I clawed my way out of hell to find you, you son of a bitch." Then, out of nowhere, Han Se-gun said his full name. Yong-jane. Se-gun's aura was just as intense as his. "You got a death wish or something?" That look alone made him and his goons flinch and step back. Se-gun's necklace started glowing red. He was shocked when he realized it had detected a vampire. A vampire? While the sun's still out? Se-gun's mind was racing, putting all the pieces together. A vampire that can move freely in the sun without losing power can only be a ruler of the horde. A true vampire. Then he looked at the cut on Yong-jane's hand. The blood was already healing fast, and it all clicked for Se-gun. Did he get bitten by a vampire? Not every bite leads to a transformation. But with the necklace reacting like this, he must be in the process of turning. Full of suspicion, he asked Yong-jane straight up. He didn't even try to deny it. "You figured it out pretty fast, huh? Good. Saves me the trouble." Han Se-gun's voice dropped, dead serious. "How much are they paying you?" Yang Jane just laughed with his crew and shot back. 2,000,001 to find you, 8,000,000 to deliver you. He said it with this smug look on his face. And I'm telling you right now, we ain't planning on settling for the smaller fee. Saegun wanted to throw down, but there was a catch. I'd love to just end you right here, but there are too many eyes on us. Not backing down. Han Saegun mocked Yang Jane. You think 8,000,001 is a lot of money or something? Especially when you gotta split it with all these guys. What are you, a beggar? That jab got him, and he grabbed Saegun's shirt in a rage. Huh? You little bastard. Saegun stayed cool and kept talking. If you want to keep any shred of honor you have as a racer. Han Saegun seriously laid out a way to solve this. Then let's settle this like racers, not a bunch of street thugs. He actually seemed convinced by that. And just like that, the calm before the storm was over. The whole crew immediately set up a racetrack for Saegun and Yang Jane to throw down. One of Yang Jane's guys announced the rules. This is a cannonball run, so I don't need to explain the rules, do I? The finish line is at the entrance to the Guri Expressway, a cannonball run, a long-haul race with 0 rules. He sat in his car, looking smug as hell. Been a while, huh? Since we've driven together like this, you really should have just behaved. Even though Saegun didn't answer, Yang Jane just kept talking to himself. If you had just been a good little boy, we could have been close enough to grab drinks together. Then, out of nowhere, Han Saegun finally answered him. Take a good long look at that sunset. Huh? Getting into position, Saegun calmly informed Yang Jane, because it might be the last one you ever see. Yang Jane scowled back at him. Bullcrap. And the ref held the starting signal up high. The race would start the second that thing hit the ground. It was on. Saegun and Yang Jane shot off like rockets. The goons in the back took off after them, too. The whole pack just tore through the streets. Right now, Saegun was pulling just a little ahead of Yang Jane. Suddenly, Yang Jane looked up ahead, his eyes wide. A massive truck had appeared, blocking the entire road. Both of them swerved hard to get around it. Yang Jane pulled up next to Saegun, gloating. You haven't driven once all year? Why the hell are you so slow? You washed up or something? Han Saegun. The guy next to him just kept yapping. Yo, you even listening? But Han Saegun was already running a different scheme in his head. Even though the whole vampire transformation was happening, he was still just human. He remembered what Song Deok-sun once said, just kill him. If killing is what it takes, then there's nothing else to think about. Though I have no idea when killing is ever necessary. Han Saegun's brows knitted together, still not getting it. If I absolutely have to kill someone, and then he suddenly swerved onto another road, shocking the hell out of Yang Jane. Hey, where do you think you're going? Not one to back down, he immediately gunned it after Han Saegun. One of the lackeys saw them both change direction and was totally confused. What the hell? Why are they suddenly acting like that? The highway entrance is right there. Meanwhile, in another neighborhood, a voice came over a call. You're telling me you're chasing him right now? The guy on the other end was reporting to Yang Ho. It's not really a chase, more like a race. Hearing this, he shot back scornfully. A race? What kind of crap is that? The guy on the line tried to explain to Yang Ho. Well, you could call it a battle between two men? That just pissed him off, and he started cussing. Damn it. How can you guys be so casual about this? You crazy bastards. A battle? What the hell kind of battle is that? Yang Ho was fuming just thinking about Han Saegun. That kid, he's beyond anything we can imagine. In the end, he decided to head to the scene himself. Whatever. Fine. I'm on my way. Don't you dare let him go anywhere. Keep him there. But the guy on the other end hesitated. About that. The guy reported what just happened. We lost his trail. Yang Ho's eyebrow shot up as he yelled, What? The scene shifts to a construction site. Han Saegun had lured Yang Jane to this place. After a moment, he heard Yang Jane call out, Hey, Han Saegun. He'd arrived at the deserted construction site. Yang Jane, who'd been totally into the race, started ripping into him. You just take off in the middle of a race? He was ready to keep chewing Han Saegun out. You call yourself a man and you turn tail and run like that? Has 1 year really turned you into a total coward? He silently listened to it all before Han Saegun finally shot back. Why don't you say the same about yourself? Yang Jane was confused, and the second he spoke, a bullet tore through his throat. Huh? He grabbed at the wound, which was oozing serum. Yang Jane immediately lost his balance and crashed to the ground. Han Saegun, gun in hand, silently walked over. He stood over Yang Jane and started talking, almost to himself. Whether it's 1 year or 10, Han Saegun didn't seem comfortable saying it. You should have just ignored a guy like me for the rest of your life. He looked down at Yang Jane, his voice softening. Hurts a lot, doesn't it? The guy was completely helpless now, as Han Saegun declared, Let me help you go peacefully. He took a knife and sliced open the pouch of serum in his hand. Streams of serum poured into Yang Jane's mouth. Drink up. Han Saegun watched it all unfold and said, You might even live. He leaned down and emptied the whole pouch into Yang Jane's mouth. Then, he quickly felt his body start to change. What the hell? the pain was gone. And weirdly enough, and just like that, Young Jane completely turned into a vampire. Power was surging through him. All he could see was Han Se-gun and the sweet-smelling serum pouch. Young Jane shot up, completely feral, and went to attack him. But Han Se-gun was ready. Blue flames instantly engulfed his body. Young Jane felt the searing pain of the fire. His whole body was burning violently, the flames consuming him. Young Jane tried to reach for him. Han Se-gun, you son of a bitch, he kept muttering. What did you do to me? But Young Jane still couldn't reach him. What did you do? The flames forced him to his knees, completely subdued. Elsewhere, Yang Ho had met up with Young Jane's crew. Suddenly, the whole group's eyes went wide, stunned by something in the distance. He had no idea that black smoke was rising from the construction site behind him. It wasn't until one of them pointed it out that Yang Ho noticed, and a shocking thought hit him. He's not human. The smoke from the construction site led Yang Ho and the others right to the scene. Yang Ho froze solid when he saw the blue flames. He's gone through the transformation into a vampire. Those flames had burned Young Jane down to a skeleton. Only then did a flicker of fear show on his face. It was a choice that had to be made. Han Se-gun had already left, but his mind was still a mess. The one who needs to be killed. Song Deok-sun's words echoed in his head again. Though I have no idea when killing is ever necessary. He also remembered what Young Jane had said right before. We could have gone for a drink together. He sped forward, his resolve completely shaken. It really happened. The one who needs to be killed. Tears streamed down Han Se-gun's face. You can't ever really be sure something like that exists, can you? Night fell over the bustling city. In a bar, a waitress awkwardly asked a customer for his order. Excuse me, sir. What would you like to order? The dapper phantom, sitting at a table, reassured her. It's cool, you can speak Korean. He flashed a bright smile and winked at the waitress. I understand everything. Hearing that, she asked Phantom more confidently. Oh, yes. So, what can I get for you, sir? He told her what he wanted. Do you have any champagne? Suddenly, a kid's voice yelled out for Phantom. Boss! The waitress was totally shocked by the title. Boss? The kid had a worried look on his face, but Phantom just asked calmly. What's up? Bill Winham led him outside to report the situation. Some girl just showed up and passed out. The kid frowned, pointing to the unconscious person next to their car. The girl was dressed really weirdly and had collapsed against Phantom's car. Suddenly, he just said Bill Winham's name. And then, the red car sped off down the highway. Winham looked back. They had decided to take the girl with them. Unexpectedly, the kid's young voice called out to Phantom, Boss. Winham looked super worried and asked him, Are you sure you're cool with this? The kid brought up the worst-case scenario they could face. If we take this Asian girl instead of calling the cops. But Phantom was totally calm. He wasn't bothered by it at all. Everything in life is pre-written, Winham. He was a big believer in that. He turned to Bill Winham. Right? After meeting me, you of all people should get that. Shouldn't you? The kid frowned, not knowing what to say. He had a point, but then Winham retorted, Sometimes, even you don't know what you're thinking. Boss. But Phantom just laughed out loud, completely unguarded. Destiny can be a little weird sometimes, can't it? He swept his hair back, declaring to himself, I'm a romantic. After all, a true vampire. Phantom. The scene cuts to a skyscraper stretching into the night sky. Standing tall over a city of dazzling lights, the scene shifts to a massive room. Phantom is at a giant glass window, a glass of dark red wine in hand, slowly savoring it as he silently gazes at the city's nightscape. He holds the glass with a satisfied look, when suddenly a respectful voice calls out from behind him. Boss Winham stands behind him with a briefcase, politely announcing, Just as you asked, I've taken her to the Yon Medical Center. Phantom casually praises him. Nice work, Winham. Maybe I should pay her a little visit sometime. The kid frowns, confused. Why are you so interested in that Asian girl, anyway? Phantom turns around and nonchalantly replies, Didn't I tell you I'm a romantic? Winham sits down and seriously argues back. You know there's no way you're a romantic. You're just dodging your work, aren't you? Then the kid reminds him, if you really want to go find some romance, get your own damn work done first. After that, I couldn't care less if you go buy flowers or do whatever else you want. Phantom swirls the wine in his glass, a smirk playing on his lips. Flowers, huh? Not a bad idea. Then Phantom leans forward slightly, resting his hand on the chair. Whatever. Did you look into it? Seeing that he had no intention of listening, Winham sighs in defeat and quietly answers. Then, the kid reports seriously. Actually, it was all over the news recently. Her name is Jin Yumi. They say she was sexually assaulted by her classmates. Phantom just leans back in his chair, casually sipping his wine. After hearing the report, he swirls his glass, his eyes glinting with interest. Just as I thought. She's no ordinary woman. Phantom, lounging comfortably, uses his magic to make his phone float in front of him so he can read the news. 6 high school girls plotted a gang rape. He slowly reads each line written in the paper. So, On day 4, 6 students, including some chick named M from Hat Girls High, got written up but didn't even get hauled in. Then this jerk Wynnum pipes up, using the lame excuse that she'd always been a spoiled, arrogant brat. They confessed that they put local dudes up to jumping her, like, a ridiculous number of times. Phantom scrolls further and calmly remarks, "An article so cold it'd make even the victim's blood boil." He adds another comment, "Getting groped doesn't make you bleed." The kid suddenly cuts in, looking at his computer screen as he announces, "Boss, there's a video from Sylvester. You want to see it? You do have work to do, right?" Hearing this, Phantom waves his hand, sending the phone flying away, and casually guesses, "I bet he's sticking his nose in other people's business everywhere he goes." He stands up, leans down to pick up his wine glass from the table, and sighs softly. "I heard he crossed the ocean just to see me. But man, he must really hate my guts. I was hoping to actually enjoy my visit to Korea after all this time." Wynnum's expression doesn't change as he continues. "He didn't just get me excommunicated from the Vatican, he also froze all of my accounts." Phantom hesitantly admits. "Yeah," the kid asks in a low voice. "So, you're not going to watch it?" He replies decisively. "No, I have to. I need to see it." As soon as he finishes speaking, a TV instantly appears on the wooden frame in front of him. Phantom rests his chin on his hand, a curious smile on his face. "After all, you did say it was work." The scene changes, and now a vampire is sitting, leaning against a cold iron fence, looking absolutely pathetic. From a distance, Sylvester quietly approaches, the light gradually illuminating his tall figure. A moment later, Sylvester's face is finally revealed, and his aura is terrifying. Back with Phantom, the TV is now showing Sylvester standing before the vampire with a knife. Watching this, he slowly recites a philosophical line, "Ashes to ashes, dust to dust." On the other side, the vampire is gasping for air, trembling as he begs, "Please, spare me." Sylvester stands above him, silently looking down at his pathetic state. Phantom suddenly breaks the silence. "You're gonna beg for your life, aren't you?" Hearing this, Wynnum looks up, quietly listening to every word he says. Phantom raises his wine glass, slowly walks over to the window, and continues to guess what he would say. "You. Someone who fills his own veins with the blood of others." He tilts his head and continues, "How can you even claim to be a living creature now?" Phantom quickly raises the glass, the wine sloshing with his movement. Then, Phantom imagines Sylvester as his own reflection and mimics his words. "If so, then cry. Cry that you're a living creature." Back in the moment, the cold tip of Sylvester's blade is pressed against the vampire's neck, sending him into a total panic. He's frozen stiff, not daring to move an inch. He looks down at the vampire coldly, without a shred of pity. At the same time, Phantom raises his wine glass high, as if he himself were holding the sword, and says in a taunting voice, "See? You can't do it," he states coldly. "That's your limit." The moment the words are out, Sylvester swings his sword down hard on the vampire. At the same time, Phantom violently swings his wine glass down, perfectly mimicking the motion. The wine in the glass splashes out with the movement. Sylvester continues his attack, decisively slashing across the vampire's body. Phantom performs the exact same move, his arm sweeping sideways through the air, sending the wine in his glass flying onto the window in an arc. Sylvester's gaze is as sharp as his sword. He glances over, staring straight into the camera. Then, the TV screen clearly shows Sylvester pointing a gun right at the camera. The next moment, a deafening gunshot echoes through the large room, shattering the silence. But Phantom and Wynnum are completely unfazed, still standing there, looking out at the city. He stands with a hand on his hip, a mocking smile on his face. Same old, same old." The kid stands beside him, holding the wine bottle. Then Wynnum pours more wine into Phantom's glass, and he continues his critique. His tricks never change. Finally, Phantom concludes with the flair of a poet. "You truly are a failure, Sylvester." The scene shifts to a dark public restroom. Inside, Han Se-gun is completely drained, hugging the toilet and throwing up non-stop, leaving his body so weak he has almost no strength left. A hazy memory flashes through his mind. For the past 2 days, after a round of dry heaving, Han Se-gun spits into the toilet, his head spinning as he remembers he hasn't eaten a single thing. He remembers the pained face and agonizing screams of Jianjane, and the moment his body was swallowed by flames, it was an unavoidable choice. The more those memories churned in his gut, the more Han Se-gun felt like he was going to puke his guts out. Right then, Song Dok-sun's words echoed in his head. "You think you get to play judge, deciding who lives and who dies?" That sarcastic crap just kept replaying in Han Se-gun's mind. "Don't make me laugh." He clenched his fists, head hung low, and then just let out a helpless cry. "So what the hell am I supposed to do now?" His voice echoed off the bathroom walls. The scene flips to night. A steaming cup of noodles sits on a table. He's just sitting there quietly outside a convenience store, waiting for his food to be ready. Han Se-gun just watched the crowd bustling past, wondering to himself, Where the hell is everyone rushing off to? His face was a total blank as he got lost in his own head. What's everyone so worked up about? Just then, a soft voice cut through. Excuse me. Han Se-gun glanced down, curious, and saw Yumi squatting there with her chin in her hands, just staring up at him with these big, amused eyes. Then, she flashed him a mischievous grin. Has anyone ever told you that you look like a total deadbeat? Han Se-gun was just floored by Yumi's question. I've had plenty of people ask if I'm, part of the life, but this is a new one. Suddenly, a piercing scream cut through his and Jin Yumi's thoughts. They both whipped their heads around to look at the girl who'd screamed. She scrunched up her face in disgust and said, "A pervert?" Right then, 3 huge dudes stomped up to them, the one in charge already bitching about something. What, you deaf or something? Or are you just ignoring me? Answer me, damn it. He glanced over at Han Se-gun and snapped, "And who the hell is this punk?" Han Se-gun couldn't care less. He got up to leave, but just him standing up made the 3 stooges flinch and back off. Then Han Se-gun just coldly turned his back and started walking, not giving a damn about the losers behind him. Seeing Han Se-gun ignore him, the guy completely lost it, feeling dissed. He gritted his teeth and snarled, You son of a bitch." Then the idiot stormed over and grabbed Han Se-gun's shoulder, roaring like some tough guy. "Hey, where the hell do you think you're going? I'm talking to you." But before he could even finish his sentence, he ate a face full of Han Se-gun's elbow. In a split second, the dude was on the ground, blood flying everywhere. While Han Se-gun didn't even flinch, Yumi just watched him, totally impressed. After taking him down, Han Se-gun looked completely unfazed and just dropped a casual, "Sorry." As the guy struggled to get up, he explained coolly, "There was a bug on you." The guy looked down at his bloody palm. Shocked. "Blood?" Han Se-gun just stood there, calm as ever. "My bad," he explained, deadpan. "I thought a bug landed on me." Hearing that, the guy shot to his feet, growling. "You asshole, you got a death wish?" he screamed. "Hey, get back here, you son of a bitch. You're coming with us." He tried to lunge forward, but his friends held him back. Those last words made Han Se-gun stop in his tracks. He shot the guy a look over his shoulder and asked coldly, "Kill me? A human, you say?" Han Se-gun's death glare looked like it could skin the guy alive. "Someone like you?" Meanwhile, Yumi was calmly holding her earbuds. She popped an earbud in, phone casually in her other hand. Then she just pulled up a song and hit play. A bright, poppy tune started playing in her ear. "Take Me With You." Yumi started vibing to the music, totally enjoying the show. Right then, the dude stomped his foot, winding up for an attack. Gritting his teeth, he threw all his weight into a kick aimed right at Han Se-gun, while his buddies got ready to jump in. But Han Se-gun just casually caught his foot. Then, with one sharp move, he twisted the guy's ankle, spinning him around and making him scream out in pain. Even with the brawl getting intense, the music in Yumi's ears completely drowned out all the screaming. "Take me with you, my friend." Han Se-gun and the thug in front of him lunged at the same time. The goon's punch was wild and aggressive, but way too slow. He ate Han Se-gun's fist. "Take me with you, too." The dude went flying while Han Se-gun stood his ground without a scratch on him. The guy flew straight toward the stairs where Yumi was sitting with her 2 friends, who freaked out and ducked for cover. The last guy was just spinning a knife in his hand, trying to act tough, but before he could even make a move, Han Se-gun flashed in and kicked him square in the gut. "I'm not human." The guy grimaced in pain as Han Se-gun instantly shifted his stance. Instantly, Han Se-gun landed a roundhouse kick to his head. A single kick sent him flying. "I'm not alone." His body skidded across the pavement. He screamed in agony as he was dragged across the ground. But suddenly, Han Se-gun flinched, caught off guard by a sneak attack from the first guy. The dude had a knife and stabbed him from behind. He even tried to shove the blade in deeper. Then, the psycho viciously sliced a long gash right across his back. The pain was so bad Han Se-gun had to stumble forward. "I'm not done." The guy smirked, all smug. "One down." A nasty red gash was now visible on Han Se-gun's back. Han Se-gun slowly turned his head, shooting a death glare at the guy, lonely. Then he slowly turned his whole body around. Seeing that, the punk started backing away nervously. The guy was trembling, cold sweat pouring down his face as he stared at Han Se-gun. "I'm not human." Han Se-gun's eyes were filled with pure murder. Lonely. Then, without a second's hesitation, he started walking right at him. Seeing that terrifying aura, the guy frantically held up his knife to defend himself, stumbling backward in a complete panic. He squeezed his eyes shut and started swinging the knife wildly, but it was useless. Han Se-gun blocked it easily, then smacked the guy's hand, hard. The guy's eyes went wide as the knife flew out of his grip and right into Han Se-gun's hand. Before the dude could even react, Han Se-gun grabbed his head and yanked it down. He held the captured knife right over the guy's head. The dude's pupils shrank to pinpricks, his eyes wide with terror. He started blubbering as he stared at the knife hanging right over his head. The next second, Han Se-gun slammed the knife down, and blood sprayed everywhere. His face went dark as he snarled sarcastically. Try a little harder. He had the guy by the hair, the knife stabbed straight through his mouth. The guy couldn't even scream through the pain, just let out these muffled groans. Han Se-gun reminded him coldly. I thought you said you wanted to kill someone. And with that, Han Se-gun raised his foot again, screaming as he totally lost control. He yanked the guy's head up. He forced him to his knees and just kept kicking him right in the face. Again, Han Se-gun kicked him over and over, completely unhinged. Do it. I said do it. I told you to do it. His wild screaming sent the other two girls running for their lives, leaving just Jin Yumi on the stairs. Han Se-gun just kept yelling, try and kill me. You bastard. Who do you think you can kill? With those pathetic little cat scratches? She was just listening to her music, her eyes glued to his powerful strikes. I will kiss your wounds. Se-gun screamed until he was exhausted. Then he suddenly went silent, standing frozen on the spot. Then he slowly turned his head to look at Yumi, sweat pouring down his face. Han Se-gun's face was a mask of pure exhaustion. His vision started to blur, his whole body feeling completely drained of life. She looked worried for a sec when she met his gaze, but just a second later, he started to sway, stumbling forward. Right after that, he couldn't stay on his feet anymore, and just collapsed. Se-gun crashed to the ground, blood spraying from the wound on his back as his body hit the dirt hard. After that, Jin Yumi casually got up and brushed the dust off her skirt. She slowly walked right over to where he was lying. The next morning, the scene cuts to a brown and white themed cafe. Inside, So Seon-hui was struggling to clean the shop all by herself. She wiped the sweat from her cheek, let out a sigh, and wondered if she should hire a part-timer or something. Suddenly, Seo Seon-hui heard a noise outside and glanced out the window. A sleek, black car, the kind that just screams money and power, suddenly pulled up in front of the shop. The car door opened, and she immediately rushed out of the shop, all excited. Seo Seon-hui happily called out, SVI. Hearing that, Sylvester coolly reminded her, I told you not to call me that anymore. The two of them walked into the shop together. She asked, confused, why are you back? This is way earlier than you were supposed to be. He calmly explained, because I like Dostoevsky. Se-gun woke up with a start, surprised to find himself in a strange bed. Se-gun immediately shot up. All around him were piles of blood-soaked tissues, and Yumi was fast asleep on the edge of the bed. Han Se-gun looked around, totally confused. When the hell did I pass out again? He looked at the dark room and the walls covered in all sorts of posters. He then looked down at the floor. Seeing the bloodstains and the women huddled on the floor, he couldn't help but wonder, and where is this place? Han Se-gun took in everything in the room and then blurted out, this place is a freaking mess. He picked up a bloody tissue next to him, looked at it, and suddenly exclaimed, a tissue? You call this first aid? Hearing the noise, she woke with a start, rubbing her eyes and asking, you're awake? Han Se-gun hesitantly replied, yeah. He said awkwardly, sorry for barging in. I'll get going now. He was about to turn and leave, but Yumi stopped him, looking worried. Did you just get stabbed? She asked hesitantly in a low voice. If you leave like this, will you be okay? This surprised Han Se-gun, who glanced at Yumi as she gently stepped closer to him. Then Yumi got right up close to Han Se-gun, lightly touching his bare chest as she made a gentle offer. Do you want to do it with me? Han Se-gun, taken aback, leaned away slightly, but she just got bolder, moving in closer and whispering invitingly. Aren't you going to touch me? Yumi blushed shyly, running a hand through her hair and looking away. I mean, you're all right. Hearing this, Han Se-gun froze for a second, his eyes wide with shock. Then he jumped to his feet and stammered, are you crazy? Are you high or something? She stopped short, staring blankly at Se-gun, and then it seemed to dawn on her. Yumi looked down, her face red, fidgeting with her hair and mumbling, sorry. He gave her an awkward look, lost in thought and saying nothing. Then Se-gun turned away, covered his face with his hand, and said in a frustrated tone, I haven't eaten in days, so I'm a little on edge, and, sorry to your boyfriend. A moment later, Jin Yumi called out hesitantly, hey. He turned his head slightly, curious. She put on a pitiful face and pleaded, can I come with you? Cut to a convenience store. On the table is a container of mixed noodles and a simple rice ball. The two of them are sitting inside. Yumi is chowing down, while Han Se-gun just sits next to her with his arms crossed. She's got a rice ball in one hand and chopsticks for her noodles in the other, stuffing her face and chewing away happily. He turns to watch Jin Yumi eat and can't help but think, man, she can really pack it away, on my dime. In the middle of eating, she hesitantly explained, those guys, they weren't my boyfriends. Han Se-gun froze for a second, then Yumi looked down, avoiding his gaze, and continued, and the only reason I followed you all the way here was because I was scared I'd get lost. Hearing that, Han Se-gun immediately shot back, what, do I look like some kid to you? After that, he fell silent and just stared straight ahead. They both sat in silence, watching the people walk by outside through the glass window. She sat quietly, a hint of sadness on her face, the cheerful vibe from before completely gone. Han Se-gun looked at Yumi and wondered, is she in the same boat as me? Then he picked up the noodle container from the table, his head bowed in thought. Yumi spoke up hesitantly. I'm sorry. Hearing this, Han Se-gun turned his head slightly to look at her. She gave him a bright smile and introduced herself. I'm Jin Yumi. Se-gun picked up his noodles, a small smirk on his lips, and then replied nonchalantly, who asked? And so they continued to eat as the morning sun streamed through the window. The scene changes to a tall hospital building standing imposingly in the city center. The streets around it are bustling with traffic. Inside the hospital, the sound of arguing echoes. Are you for real? What kind of hospital management lets a kid just run away? Mi-H leaned against the wall, silently watching the chaotic scene unfold. A hospital doctor quickly tried to calm the man down. Sir, please, you need to calm down. Then, that doctor immediately got defensive. It's not like this is going to negatively affect your daughter. Hearing those irresponsible words just made the man roar back in anger. My daughter almost died on the street. And now you expect me to calm down? If my daughter had died, could you have taken responsibility for that? Could you? Do you think I pay these insane hospital bills for you all to just stand around acting high and mighty? Phantom, holding a bouquet of roses, stood in the back with a slight, awkward smile. Oh boy, looks like I came at a bad time. Seeing him, the man immediately stomped over and yelled, who the hell are you? But Phantom just gave a polite smile and replied, excuse me for a moment. Then, he snapped his fingers. The man's angry, scowling face suddenly froze mid-expression. Instantly, he stood completely still, his eyes glowing with a strange red light. Everyone else around them was in the same state. Every single face went completely blank. All of them stood motionless, and the atmosphere in the room turned bizarre. From the back, Mi-H's eyes went wide with shock. Phantom stared intently at her, deep in thought. Looking at the related articles and data, she's been hospitalized for a whole year. Humans aren't as strong as they think. Seeing his strange gaze, Mi-H nervously clenched her fists. Observing her body, Phantom continued his train of thought. But if her heart had stopped, she never would have left the hospital. Then he smirked, walking past the others and said softly, sorry about yesterday. Phantom stood in front of Mi-H and explained in a low voice, I didn't realize you were trying so damn hard to escape, only for me to bring you to a place like this. Then he held out a bouquet of roses to her and made his offer. Wanna come with me? Phantom winked and confidently added, actually, it's not like you have a choice, since this is a kidnapping. Mi-H held the bouquet, her resolve starting to crumble. Then she gently hugged the roses to her chest and left the hospital as the scene cuts to the street outside. On a bridge packed with traffic, cars were totally jammed up. Suddenly, a respectful voice came through the phone. Yes, Sir Phantom. He casually gave the order. Prepare women's clothing in all sizes. The person on the other end asked in surprise. Women's clothing, sir? Are you planning to put them on Wynnum? Phantom burst out laughing. Oh my god, your sense of humor's gotten a little better. Mi-H, meanwhile, couldn't care less, completely lost in the scent of the flowers. He said with a laugh as he drove. Even if I fired you, you could still make it as a stand-up comedian. The person on the other end just went silent. Phantom sighed, a little wistful. It wouldn't have been so bad if Wynnum hadn't resisted. All of a sudden, quick as a flash, he spun around. Phantom used his own body to shield Mi-H from danger, but she was totally clueless and just kept smelling the flowers. Phantom winced, then smirked. Son of a bitch. 6 bullets had slammed into him from behind, burying themselves deep in his back. The car window shattered into a million pieces. From above, you could clearly see Phantom's back. Through the rifle scope, the target was still perfectly clear. The scope was aimed right at his car. Sylvester stood casually on the edge of a rooftop, holding the rifle in his hands. He smirked with satisfaction, slinging the rifle over his shoulder. Sylvester tilted his head smugly and said, how about that? Isn't that the warmest welcome? The next morning, at that massive corporation, Phantom walked into the lobby with the black-haired girl still holding her bouquet. Welcome back, Mr. Phantom. When the guards saw him, they immediately stood at attention and bowed. I've prepared everything as you instructed. But before the employee could finish, Phantom cut in and praised him. Good work. Then Phantom gave an order. Have the female guards get her changed. She can't keep walking around in a hospital gown. They immediately obeyed. Yes, sir. The female guards then led her into a room to change clothes. At that moment, Phantom dropped a few small gold coins into the male guard's hand. The guard was completely shocked. What's this? But Phantom didn't explain, just gave the guard the info. He fired 6 shots in the blink of an eye. All of them were aimed at her. Luckily, they were just regular bullets. But the guard spoke up, his voice full of worry. What if they had been silver bullets? It looked like that possibility didn't bother Phantom in the slightest. He just clicked his tongue. He'd already figured that all it would take is a few drops of his spilled blood to turn her into a vampire. As Phantom walked away, he muttered, "Pretty gentlemanly of me, huh?" Cut to Han Se-gun's heavy-duty motorcycle. He sat staring at his ride, thinking about its performance. This is its limit. It's a damn miracle the engine is even still running. Right now, Han Se-gun's mind was a total mess. Yeah, after all the near-death rides I've had on this thing, expecting it to run perfectly is probably asking for too much. His thoughts were at war with each other. I really want to get it fixed right now. Or just sell it and buy a new one. But then Han Se-gun grimly opened his paper-thin wallet, and, of course, there wasn't a single cent inside. Seeing that made him curse under his breath, completely broke. He couldn't stop thinking about when Old Man Do refused to make a deal. Why the hell did that old geezer refuse the deal? It's not like I'm gonna stop fighting vampires just because he turned me down. I don't sell to nobodies. I need to sell this vampire blood. And fast. Feeling totally helpless, he leaned back. Whatever. I guess I just have to find another dealer willing to trade with a no-name. But where am I gonna find one? Suddenly, Yumi popped up out of nowhere and rushed over to say hi. She got right up in Han Se-gun's face, leaving him totally baffled. Without hesitating, Yumi hopped on and sat right next to him. My legs are totally numb. She was curious why he was just sitting here. So where are you off to now? The question kinda caught him off guard. You ask that like we're going together or something. But Han Se-gun just got on his bike and told her, "It's late. Go to sleep." Yumi was curious where Han Se-gun lived. "Where do you live, anyway?" But he ignored her and dodged the question, "Don't ask me that. More importantly, where are your friends?" Hearing him mention her friends made Yumi pout. They all went to see their boyfriends, or just went home. Instead of trying to comfort her, Han Se-gun hit her with a dose of cold reality. Then you should go home, too. Don't your parents worry when you're out this late? Did you run away from home or what? But Yumi's reply made Han Se-gun's heart skip a beat. I don't have parents. Her face fell as she went on. I'm an orphan. Looking at this small girl must have made Han Se-gun, who had also lost his family, feel a kind of connection. He then offered, "Get on. I'll give you a ride." And just like that, she climbed onto Han Se-gun's bike. The two of them rode in silence down the empty night road. It seemed like in that moment, Yumi felt a glimmer of warmth and could finally relax, leaning against Han Se-gun's back. Most people just wrote her off as a bad girl, but no one on the outside knew about her tyrannical, aggressive father. Yumi's flip phone was half closed, slowly starting to fall. Yumi had apparently hit her breaking point. She finally screamed back at her father, "Why don't you just die?" She bitterly spat out all her pain and resentment. Through her tears, Yumi cried out, "I wish you were dead." It was an act of rebellion against being treated like property. At that exact moment, the day her family's car exploded and burst into flames, Yumi's mother and father were erased from the world. All she could do was stare silently at their funeral portraits. Her wish had come true. Back in the present, she quietly reached her hand out to catch the wind. From then on, I just spread my arms and turned my face to the wind, giving myself over to the madness, a repeating cycle of self-destruction. In her heart, she was actually satisfied with her life now. I'm not asking for comfort or help. I can't live her life for her, and I can't take responsibility for her, either. Han Se-gun's head was a total mess as he drove. I mean, her story was pretty jumbled, but after hearing it like 3 or 4 times, I pieced it together. Suddenly, he couldn't just not care about her anymore. Was it 'cause she's like me, so I get her more? Or was Han Se-gun just replaying that moment Yumi lunged at him when he was shirtless? Do you want to do it with me? Just thinking about it made him grit his teeth in disgust. That crazy bitch. Totally pissed off, Han Se-gun cranked the throttle, making Yumi lurch behind him. The bike shot forward, tearing down the empty road. It wasn't long before they reached Yumi's neighborhood, and Han Se-gun slammed on the brakes. He told her, "We're here, go on inside." Seeing him turn the bike around to leave, Yumi got curious. "Where are you going?" Han Se-gun just answered, "I gotta go home too." Then Yumi called out to him. She asked Han Se-gun, all innocently, "When do I get to see you again?" Han Se-gun glanced back and told her, "If you stop by the convenience store, we can grab breakfast together." Then he turned and left, riding off alone down the empty street back to his place. On the way, he felt the bike acting up again. Damn it, this piece of crap motorcycle. If I keep riding this thing just 'cause it's a memento, I'm gonna get myself killed. That just made Han Se-gun even more desperate. I gotta find a way to make money, no matter what. As he was riding, something caught his eye. It was a black car passing right in front of him. Han Se-gun felt like something was up, so he tailed it all the way to that old bar. He was pretty shocked by who he saw. And yeah, it was Sylvester, right there in the bar. The moment Han Se-gun saw him, he called out his name, "Sylvester." The lights of the shops were blazing all around. Han Se-gun asked him, "When did you get back to Korea?" Sylvester just calmly replied, "Not long ago." His eyes drifted to a file, and he guessed, I bet you get these kinds of requests too, right? What kind of file is this? A second later, his eyes scanned something on the page. Sylvester immediately heard a curse, and the sharp smack of the file being slammed down. Shit. Sylvester's eyes narrowed as he remarked without hesitation, "We haven't seen each other for a little while, and you've already gotten this cocky." He looked up at Han Se-gun and said casually, "Or have you just decided you want to die?" Han Se-gun stayed completely silent, frozen like a statue. Then Sylvester got back to the point. "Is it someone you know?" He didn't get an answer, but that tightly clenched fist said it all. Sylvester stared at the photo again, lost in thought. "Looks like my partner is about to become an uncontrollable, spoiled brat." The night sky was buried under a heavy downpour. Wynnum slowly took in the comment from the guy across from him. A kid from Phantasmagoria showed up here. God only knows the crew in front of him wasn't exactly friendly. Jian sat on his chair, staring at the kid with bloodshot red eyes. Wynn calmly looked the man over and commented, "You look pretty human yourself." Gian didn't even try to hide his contempt for the kid. The little puppy who was so cocky in his master's arms doesn't seem to know his place. And neither does your master. Wynn shot back, just as tough. For someone who only hangs out with low-life thugs, you should know that he is not someone you can disrespect like that. The kid couldn't help but glare at them like they were a pile of garbage. And you guys really have nothing else to brag about? The goon next to Jian exploded, yelling, "Damn it! It's because our master was fighting Trang when that cowardly bastard of a vampire hunter just had to stick his nose in it." Gian's ears were starting to hurt, so he held up a hand to stop the guy. "That's enough." He nonchalantly steered the conversation back on track. "We're getting sidetracked. State your business and get the hell out." Wynn put the briefcase down and kicked it over. The case slid across the floor to Jian's crew. His voice was a low growl, his anger rising. "Are you telling us to take this and get out of your sight?" Even though it was a surprise attack. A true vampire hunter is the one who took our master's life. He ground out each word, like he wanted to crush the kid. To fight someone like that, this amount of money, it's just not enough. Don't you think so? Wynnum wasn't scared at all as he calmly explained. "Don't get me wrong, this isn't money for you guys to get revenge." Then the kid quickly added, "Besides, your lawyer isn't even here right now, is he?" Gian asked, confused. "Then why the hell are you here?" Wynnum casually pulled something from his jacket pocket. "The person I want is much weaker." Then, a photo was tossed in front of Gian. He picked it up to take a look. As he did, he heard Wynnum's voice, Sylvester's apprentice. "For someone at his level, you guys are more than enough." Gian finally continued the conversation. "Where?" The kid gave him a name, Han Se-gun. "You should find out the details yourselves." Then the kid dropped a condescending line. "Am I wrong?" Gian cursed under his breath. What a crappy client. Later, at Jeo's base, the photo sat on the table for a long time. Yang Ho glanced at it and immediately cursed, "That bastard." Sangdong turned to him and asked, "What, you know him?" The question made the old man flinch and stammer. "Well, it's..." Yang Ho quickly explained that it was the high school kid who came to the club before. Sangdong exclaimed in shock. "What?" Seeing this, Winham immediately figured things would get resolved quickly. Gian cracked a bloodthirsty smile and muttered, "Yeah, we can finish this in a flash and make a ton of cash." Meanwhile, in another skyscraper, two figures stood watching the torrential rain pour down outside a glass wall. Jin Yumi suddenly broke the silence. "Are you, like, super rich?" Phantom answered without a shred of modesty. "That's an undeniable fact." Right after, he heard the girl beside him ask, "Why are you so interested in me?" Phantom seemed amused and chose his words carefully. "Why am I interested?" For a moment, the room fell silent again. He quietly uttered a single word, "Hunters." Then Phantom abruptly changed the subject. "When you live past your natural lifespan and continue that life indefinitely, you start to hear a sound that normal people can't hear. A crystal clear, vibrant voice that just craves destruction and death. He just keeps talking, even when he's alone. It's like a chronic disease that comes with living in this body." A glint of interest sparked in Phantom's eyes. "Still, I value patience over pleasure." Mihai finally looked at him, confused, and asked, "Patience?" He answered her in a voice that was almost indulgent. "The strength to endure pain and survive in this world. If there's something worth protecting with patience, then even the flames of hell can taste sweet, little girl." Mihai mumbled doubtfully, "You really think so?" Phantom was dead sure of what he'd just said. "Of course. I'm not trying to force my values on you. But there are definitely good days in life." But her response was nothing but unconcealed doubt. "Is that so?" Mihai faced the glass and spat out one word, "Lies." Phantom's tone suddenly shifted. "There are days when I almost believe those lies myself." "Seriously." Mihai lowered her gaze, saying calmly, "But it doesn't matter anymore." This brought Phantom's mood down with her. Too bad. No will to live. He thought of something, and the corners of his mouth lifted into a smirk. However, for the kid who'll become the youngest in the clan, His finger split open, trailing thin lines of blood. A gift for revenge isn't so bad. Mihai's eyes watched silently, as if this was completely normal. She couldn't help but spread her arms wide. Phantom pulled her into his embrace and leaned in close. Just then, Winham, having returned, immediately came to report. Master, just as you instructed, I went to the guild. The kid suddenly stopped talking when he saw the scene in front of him. Winham cried out in alarm, watching Mihai greedily drinking Phantom's blood. Master! It was like a string of sanity snapped in the kid's head. Phantom held out his hand, beckoning to Winham, who was losing consciousness before his very eyes. You come here too, before I change my mind. The sky outside continued to pour. A motorcycle tore down the road through the torrential rain. Han Se-gun's face was dead serious. He remembered Sylvester's words. He's a repulsive bastard. No matter how long he lives, his body has rotted to the bone while he enjoys his wealth and power. It's a joke that a guy like him preaches about saving humanity. He casually remarked, he's no god. Han Se-gun had suddenly spoken up then, asking, so what will you do? A priest? Sylvester lowered his head slightly in thought, then he raised 2 fingers, shaping them like a gun. A low, dull sound echoed, snapping him out of it. Han Se-gun lowered his eyes, thinking it over carefully. Then he decisively turned and walked away without hesitation. Sylvester's voice stopped him for a second. Han Se-gun. The next second, something was thrown hard at Han Se-gun. Opening his palm, he saw it was a pill. Sylvester calmly laid out a few things. You're a target of hatred because of a woman kidnapped by the vampire lord. Every word Han Se-gun heard from him sounded like a lecture. Think carefully before you judge something. Don't do anything stupid. Remembering this, Han Se-gun couldn't stop himself from twisting the throttle hard. The face of the brutal and cold Kennet flashed in his mind. Just then, a sudden red light appeared. He glanced up. An object had appeared in the sky at some point. A bat? Han Se-gun immediately focused on it. While he was distracted, another beast suddenly attacked from the front. Han Se-gun was a bit startled by the sudden assault. It was a tiger with a glowing stone embedded in its head. He quickly used his speed and skill to dodge the deadly attack. He narrowly escaped danger. Han Se-gun spun the motorcycle in a half circle, wanting to face it head on. Right then, a voice from behind made him freeze. This kid. Jane looked at him with amusement, like he was real prey. This is the punk Gian was talking about, right? As soon as she finished speaking, someone on the other side answered, oh, that's him. Gyeon-un stepped forward, locking onto Han Se-gun as his target. His motorcycle was surrounded from both sides in a pincer attack. Han Se-gun's eyes flicked over the 2 newcomers, carefully studying each of them under the worsening rain. Jane looked at her partner, impressed. Is that a real gun? Where'd you get it? Aren't guns illegal in Korea? Suddenly, Han Se-gun's wheels roared to life. He launched the bike right at Jane, but the wheel was instantly stopped by her hand, creating a stalemate. Han Se-gun immediately pulled a gun from his jacket and aimed it at Jane. He cocked it, ready to fire. Jane flinched, quickly letting go and turning away in anger. You made me jump, you little punk. The bike spun a full circle in the air like a circus act. Then it shot toward Gyeon-un on the other side. Han Se-gun adjusted his direction and flew forward like the wind. A second later, the bike was flying freely through the quiet air. He landed nimbly on the pavement, ditching the motorcycle. Han Se-gun focused his mind, his eyes serious, defiant, and cold. Jane wiped a trickle of blood from her cheek, muttering in annoyance. Damn it, she said to her partner about Han Se-gun. This punk's got some moves, huh? Gyeon-un didn't see it that way, and said bluntly, that's because you screwed up. She was stunned and stared at him blankly. What? Across from them, Han Se-gun watched the 2 bicker back and forth, seemingly ignoring his presence. Both of them had guns, and he couldn't help but calculate. 3 Tokarev rounds, 5 Type 54 bullets. As he reset the safety, Han Se-gun recognized just how dangerous the situation was. Even if I unload the whole clip, I don't think I can win. Jane finally turned her attention back to her original prey. Whatever. From her body, disgusting, teeth-filled tentacles sprouted out into the night rain. Both of them took an attack stance as Jane's threatening voice cut through the air. Should I make up for the blood I spilled? Han Se-gun clenched his jaw, his eyes filled with killing intent. He charged forward like a whirlwind, refusing to back down, yelling, "Get the hell out of here, you bastards." The 2 sides clashed, ending the gentle prelude. Han Se-gun moved and fired continuously, while the 2 vampires gracefully dodged. A contemptuous smirk was on her face as she commented, "Even if you have silver bullets, it's still just a crappy Tokarev." Then she attacked back with her weapon. That's not nearly enough. However, Han Se-gun moved quickly to dodge her attacks. That attack, his quick footwork, created distance from the vampires. The 2 turned their heads to look, and in the blink of an eye, they were moving right alongside him. Gyeon-un scowled. Where the hell do you think you're going? Seeing this, Han Se-gun immediately stopped, swinging a punch while he already had a gun ready down below. Model. The barrel was aimed right at this vampire punk, but one of the guns got knocked away. Han Se-gun spun around, trying to keep up with their moves. In a flash, the gun was pointed straight at Jane's forehead. A loud bang echoed through the rain, but no one went down. 'Cause some vines had already wrapped around Se-gun, messing up his aim. He instantly switched it up and threw a punch, but his whole body just got tossed. Han Se-gun slammed hard onto the ground. Jane's eyebrows scrunched up watching this go down. Han Se-gun struggled to rip the vines off his hands. Just then, a voice rang out as more vines shot out. "How much longer are you gonna fight back?" Jane shut down Se-gun's every move. That bitch slammed him into the ground, screaming, "I told you it was useless." His body hit so hard the ground actually cracked. Se-gun was dazed, pretty much knocked out. Only then did Jane pull back her thorny vines. She clicked her tongue, all annoyed, as Han Se-gun's mind drifted back to old memories of Yumi. He remembered everything about her like it was yesterday, even her gentle smile. Se-gun forced himself to crawl up, pushing off the ground, but he didn't get far before he was tied up again. Jeon-un just casually dragged Han Se-gun towards him. Jane, standing next to that creep, gloated. Then her laugh turned totally psycho. "Mind if I have my dinner now?" But before she could take a bite, she took a bullet straight to the head. Jane just dropped, stunning Jeon-un. He whipped his head toward where the shot came from and yelled, "Who the hell are you?" From across the way, Song Dok-sun's calm voice echoed, "You damn brat." He was talking about Han Se-gun's fighting style, trying to fight a vampire without even using moon illusion. Then he smirked and teased, "Hey, you lunatic, is this how my old man taught you to fight?" Getting ignored, Jeon-un freaking snapped and attacked. Right then, Song Deok-sun's face went dead serious in an instant. He used his weapon to fight off those thorny vines. Jeon-un's jaw dropped in pain as the weapon hit him, and he quickly raised his gun. Song Deok-sun didn't waste a second and just opened fire. Next thing you know, Jeon-un was on the ground. The guy scrambled back, trying to keep his distance. You could see the pain all over Jeon-un's face. He just jumped down and bolted. Song Deok-sun just stood there, watching him go. It was only then that Han Se-gun could finally push himself up. The old man said calmly, "I'm going after that bastard too. But you, hurry up and get some blood, then go guard the post." With that, Song Dok-sun took off after Jeon-un. Left alone, Se-gun got lost in his thoughts. He pointed his gun at Jane to finish her off. Han Se-gun's mind was heavy. Is it 'cause they're related to true vampires? Is their blood different from those other cheap-ass bloodsuckers? He was panting, totally exhausted. Then he got up, ready to move. So that's why they're so damn strong. Se-gun reached out and grabbed his weapon. The rain was coming down harder now, and the lights barely cut through the dark. Corpses littered the road, their faces all messed up. Han Se-gun stared at the scene, bodies everywhere. A memory from the past surfaced the time Han Se-gun totally owned a bunch of vampires. His hand tightened on the hilt of his sword. "I have a weapon." At the same time, Han Se-gun popped a pill in his mouth, just like he was taught. The power kicked in instantly. Han Se-gun's eyes started glowing. He could feel his body changing. His mindset was totally different now. Han Se-gun stared straight ahead. The world around him started to blur, and he moved cautiously. After a sec, Han Se-gun's vision cleared up. He sprinted toward the mansion, then stopped short when he saw a figure. This time, Han Se-gun was seriously shocked. His thoughts were a complete mess. But deep down, one thought popped up. I hope she didn't die. The person's hands were covered in fresh blood, and on the ground lay a dead body. A flash of lightning lit up the whole room. Han Se-gun felt so helpless, his weapon just dropped from his hand. But then again, he calmly loaded his gun. In the beginning, God made Adam from dust, and Eve from Adam's bone. Death is just a ritual to return to paradise. Then he aimed the gun at the other person. Maybe I knew all along it would end up like this, Han Se-gun muttered coldly. Ashes to ashes, dust to dust. But the other person just smiled, relieved. A shot rang out, followed by a spray of blood. Jeon-un stumbled back, clutching the gushing wound in his stomach. Damn it! Across from him was none other than SYLVESTER. The guy didn't say another word and just unleashed a flurry of slashes. Song Deok-sun showed up after it was all over and started complaining. "Oh, for crying out loud, you trashed everything. What am I supposed to do now? You were supposed to leave some samples, you know." But SYLVESTER cut him off, dead serious. No time to explain. He kept going. "Get that kid and bring him here, now." This just confused Song Dok-sun, who tilted his head. "You're not coming with me?" SYLVESTER calmly explained. "There are too many eyes on us right now." Hearing just that, the old man kinda guessed. Something going on with the Phantom House? Song Deok-sun's expression got even more serious. "Don't tell me it's the 4 cardinal tyrants?" The words were barely out of his mouth when a bright light flashed behind them. The building behind them went up in a massive blaze. Song Deok-sun rushed to the scene. He kept a safe distance, watching everything. A figure emerged from the flames. Song Duk-san saw Han Se-gun's dazed expression and asked worriedly, "You okay?" He answered calmly, "Can I catch a ride?" The light from the vehicles looked kinda demonic. They moved fast on the road, and when those cars stopped, soldiers immediately deployed. They surrounded the explosion caused by the car. Sylvester was watching the whole thing from way off. He had this faint smirk on his face as another bolt of lightning flashed, lighting up some stray cats. Sylvester's voice was calm as he said, "Spit it out. Now." The cats immediately coughed up a bunch of skulls. They obediently sat nearby, waiting for Sylvester. At some fancy restaurant, a luxury black car pulled up, followed by another one. The cars were parked neatly in a row. Sylvester made a comment. "You're insane for daring to barge into Auna like this." Phantom, across from him, shot back. "The thing we need to discuss is urgent." Sylvester's face was nothing but wary. "The one who's always dodging me. What's so damn important that you had to show your face in person?" Phantom continued with a smirk. "Before I go on, I'm sorry to have to say this, but you didn't actually think a vampire like me would shed a tear for you, did you? So why don't you go bother some other real vampire?" Hearing this, Sylvester had zero patience left and demanded, "Enough with the bullshit. Why are you here?" Phantom shot back with a sarcastic tone. "Don't be like that. Let's chat a bit more." He shrugged, adding, "After all, it's not like we're short on time, are we?" But the guy across from him wasn't having it. "I have zero interest in hearing another story about some rat who lives by stealing time from others. It's not worth my time, and I don't have any to waste," Sylvester demanded again in a cold voice. "So spit it out. What's the real reason you crawled over here?" His dead serious tone made Phantom go quiet. He took a slow sip of tea before continuing. "Sylvester, don't even try to face the tyrant of the four directions." These words put Sylvester even more on edge. A vampire worried about a vampire hunter? How thoughtful of you. Hearing that, Phantom just sneered back, "Don't get it twisted. This is just a warning." Sylvester shot back a challenge. "And what if I don't listen?" His hand was already hovering over the gun on the table. "You trying to force my hand?" He was smiling, but his words were a pure threat. "I don't mind throwing down. Right here, right now." The sight of Sylvester's hand on the gun made Phantom pause. He said quietly, "We're not living in the Stone Age anymore, Sylvester." Then he put his teacup down and continued. "Treating you like some savage now would totally go against my aesthetic." An overwhelming killing intent poured out from Phantom. "Think whatever you want. I am the sovereign of vampires. I am the king of humanity," he went on. Across from him, Sylvester listened in silence. "'Cause the kid became the youngest in the family, and today's a special day to give him a little gift called revenge." After saying that, Phantom suddenly stood up. "So he just left him with one last sentence before he left. I'd really appreciate it if you weren't too pissed at me, Mr. Stalker. Since I've said everything that'd interest you, I'll be taking off now." Sylvester's face twisted as the last words hit his ears. "Thanks for the coffee." Back in the present, Sylvester muttered to himself while looking at the bullet in his hand. "Because I was worried, I dumped the mission on Song Duk-sun. Pathetic." From a distance, Song Duk-sun and Han Se-gun were approaching. What are those idiots thinking? They didn't even bother to pick up the shell casings. His question made Han Se-gun fall silent. Sylvester only spoke again once he sat down. "I'm guessing after all that, you still came up with nothing." Han Se-gun suddenly called out to Sylvester. A random question followed. "Do I look like a wandering spirit?" His answer made Han Se-gun burst out laughing. "You must have water on the brain. All you do is spout total crap." But his smile didn't last long at all. Han Se-gun hung his head with a heavy expression, clutching it with both hands. The Crimson Witch situation is over. In another corner of the city, where the lights were bright enough to see, a drunk man was horrified by what he saw in front of him. The creature's silhouette was overwhelmingly huge. Outside a building, voices were chatting. "That damn boss. We don't even have any freaking customers, and he still piles on the work. For real, he doesn't do jack when he's by himself. And it's not like we can report him to the labor bureau. Why? 'Cause the guy looks sketchy as hell. Whatever. He still pays you, right?" But they were cut off by a sound in the distance. "Hold on." Their eyes shot toward the sound. What the hell was that? M-Dog's figure came into view, and they started to get freaked out. "What is that? A beggar? He looks way too big to be a beggar. Is he eating something? What's he eating?" Across from them, M-Dog was devouring something. They immediately hit him with a light, trying to size up the situation. "What should we do? Think the three of us can take him?" Just then, M-Dog turned his head and looked at them. Did these idiots have a death wish, judging a monster? The words were barely out of their mouths before two of them were attacked. Their heads slammed into the pavement. The two survivors were completely stunned. They slowly backed away, one of them commenting as they watched M-Dog. "Did it just get bigger?" Which brings us to what happened to him before. "I was definitely human once. When did I turn into this?" This was back when M-Dog was still human. One day, for no reason at all, this insane hunger just exploded inside me. And from that day on, my senses started to fade. The gnawing hunger felt like a hand tearing my throat out. My mind went haywire before I could even fight back. When I opened my eyes again, I had already devoured countless bodies. But it didn't stop. A question just flashed in his mind. Are humans always this delicious? Night fell, and everything was quiet. Some big dude was out for a jog, but something up ahead made him stop. M-Dog's figure was reflected in his glasses. From across the way, he was charging forward. The guy luckily managed to dodge. M-Dog picked up speed, with only one thought in his head. Hungry, so hungry, starving to death, so hungry. M-Dog viciously tore the poor guy apart, the light from his phone illuminating his face. Someone in the building above quickly pulled their curtains shut. M-Dog managed to glance up at him, but didn't turn away, too busy enjoying the feast of flesh in front of him. In the middle of his craving, M-Dog had only one thought. I'm hungry. A new day began. At that moment, Do and Song Deok-sun were walking together. You afraid of getting caught or something? Why are all the lights off? I thought you were out of the game. Do glanced over before answering him. I can only do business if someone brings me the goods. Whether it's you or that Han Se-gun kid, I've never been able to get a single thing out of either of you. These words shut Song Deok-sun up. After walking a bit further, Do stopped and reached his hand forward. Do pressed a button, and light immediately poured in through holes in the ceiling. The light shone down on a bank of computers, as a radio on a wooden box broadcasted the news. Alright, next up, and it's no surprise, we're talking about MDOG. Last night, in a park in Gangseogu, some unknown thing went on a freaking killing spree. You asked quietly, "Gimme the bag." Song Deok-sun handed it over to the old man, listening closely. The news is all over it. According to locals, some monster just burst out of a manhole and started attacking people. The cops are saying they think it was just some random killing spree by some drunk or pissed off guy. But the people who actually saw it are calling bull on that. Every single person is saying that thing was not human. The voices in the crowd, watching this dude, started getting way more panicked. No way. They're even showing the blurred out footage of the M-Dog attacks. There's no way that thing was human. I mean, how could it be? What the hell kind of booze did he drink to be able to slice a living person in two? Hearing this, Song Deok-sun thoughtfully commented, "A mutant? When it comes to us vampire hunters and those goddamn vampires, there's an unwritten rule about staying in the shadows." He thought to himself, our work isn't supposed to get out, but that rule's been completely shattered. You, who was next to him, chimed in. The vamps who want to handle this themselves are going to start crawling out. Drawing from experience, the old guy laid out the motives for both sides, and the hunters looking to make a quick buck will come swarming. Song Deok-sun casually remarked, "This is about to get real messy." Night fell on a place blocked off with police tape. This was the spot where MDOG attacked a few days ago. His shadow was sitting next to a vending machine. M-Dog was scarfing something down when he was suddenly attacked. The attacker casually pulled out their weapon. MDOG instantly got into a battle stance. Yoo-hoo and Jeon slowly walked closer, making some comments. "Man, you're making a racket." He eyed M-Dog and added, "You're gonna wake up the neighbors." The night was strangely silent. M-Dog was in the middle of his meal when two figures approached. Yoo-hoo said coolly, "Bring it." Jeon, beside him, said his name as a warning, Yoo-hoo, but he didn't listen, just pulled out his weapon and got into a fighting stance. A wicked grin spread across Yoo-hoo's face. "Bring it." M-Dog's eyes burned with rage. Without wasting a second, he charged. Yoo-hoo smoothly dodged the attack. MDOG roared in pain as he got hit, and he fought back using the sharp spikes on his body. The fight between them was intense. Suddenly, a look of panic flashed across Yoo-hoo's face as M-Dog caught his hand. He slammed a punch with all his might into Yoo-hoo, but just then, Jeon jumped in. He sent M-Dog flying with a single kick. Then, Jeon stretched his hand out and fired another shot at him. The creature lay motionless on the ground. Yoo-hoo, pissed off, snapped, "I didn't need your help. I had him." Jeon just calmly replied, "This isn't a game. Don't let your guard down." He smirked and added, "Usually, in comics, this is the part where they escape." That made him snap back. "Don't say crap like that. You'll jinx it." But as Yoo-hoo was about to say more, he was shot right in the head. That's not gonna happen. Jeon could only watch in shock as he fell. Yoo-hoo. The shooter was none other than MDOG. It started firing wildly at them, forcing Jeon to run for it. He ducked behind a tree and yelled, "You damn bastard." Jeon gritted his teeth, pissed. He glanced in another direction to get a read on the situation, and his expression changed fast. Jeon let out a roar. Glaring at MDOG, he declared, "You bastard. I'm gonna kill you myself." Meanwhile, MDOG was slowly moving toward Yoo-hoo, its massive shadow falling over him. MDOG then leaned down, about to devour him. Elsewhere, Seo Seon-hui called out excitedly, "Han Se-gun, you made it," she said, seeing the familiar face. "I've never seen a bike like this before. You get a new one?" "Yeah, Han Se-gun replied casually. Lucky for me, I found someone willing to sell to a kid like me. That comment left So Seon-hui a little confused. Oh, yeah? No wonder your clothes look so sick, too. She looked him over and commented, You've really become a hunter. Han Se-gun suddenly changed the subject. Where's Sylvester? Seo Seon-hui crossed her arms. He's sleeping upstairs. He's probably awake by now, though. Se-gun was greeted by the barrel of Sylvester's gun. The guy was still in bed, wearing pajamas. The surprise move made Han Se-gun grimace. He said quietly, Good to see you, too. Sylvester slowly sat up. Drop the habit of barging into rooms while people are sleeping. You never know when you're going to get shot or killed. As Han Se-gun walked closer, he remarked, You know, you don't look very intimidating dressed like that. Sylvester casually asked back, What is it? Han Se-gun quickly explained the incident the media had been rambling on about for days. Sylvester got out of bed as he replied, You mean that monster that's been publicly killing people in the park? Han Se-gun nodded. Yeah, what do you think? Hearing this, Sylvester couldn't help but get interested. Just as I thought, this country is still hanging on. The vampire clans haven't really seized control of the underworld yet. Though, that's probably why things like this are running rampant, Sylvester said, tying up his long hair. It's just a mutant. Leave it alone, and it'll die off on its own. This confused Han Se-gun. What? People are dying out there. But then, Sylvester suddenly reminded him, Don't look to me for answers. I'm not your master. His whole attitude became dismissive. And whatever it is, what's it got to do with you? Han Se-gun stayed serious and asked back, You say that, but there's some truth to it, isn't there? This time, Sylvester was quiet. He sighed and explained, A mutant's blood is worthless. Han Se-gun listened closely. However, the fallen attract executioners. A mutant that goes through a defective mutation will go on a rampage just to satisfy its immediate hunger. It doesn't care about hiding its identity or anything else. Sylvester glanced at him and added, That's why those things. As he spoke, his hands were checking over something. The bullets in this gun are going to crawl out and protect their family. Sylvester keeps telling the story. Going by the name Executioner, he hunts high-level vampires that you normally can't even track. Hearing this, Han Se-gun couldn't help but get curious. So, you're saying you want to use the mutant as bait? Sylvester just smirked and confirmed it. Exactly. His eyes were glued to the gun in his hand. For hunters who are only in it for the money, this is a golden opportunity. Just then, Sylvester's phone pings with a notification, confirming a switch to the latest intel. Welcome. You have successfully activated the vampire tracking device. Se-gun, curious, steps closer. What is this? He quickly cuts in. The voice from the phone just keeps talking. We are in possession of extremely valuable information. You all must be dying to know right now, right? We will now make the announcement. M-Dog's identity has been revealed. The mutant currently wandering Han Se-gun is confirmed to be the former hunter, M-Dog. Sylvester's expression turned nasty after hearing that. At the same time, Song-Dok-sun is over here, driving his car. The look on his face says it all. Sylvester's comment was seriously cruel to the guy. Night falls over the harbor docks, and a massive bag of cash is dropped in front of them. Check it. Kenneth, taking his sweet time, kneels down to check. Then, he comments quietly. Looks like it's all here. Kenneth is an arms dealer. Kenneth walks forward and yanks open the doors of a shipping container. Inside, it's packed with weapons from guns and ammo to knives, and even body armor. Bo-sang checks out a few items and rates them. Excellent. I can't believe we can actually get our hands on weapons this high class in Korea. Meanwhile, Kenneth starts getting ready to leave. If you can, I hope you won't go on a public killing spree. He made sure to remind them, 'cause you know, they're firearms. But then, out of nowhere, one of Bo-sang's goons suddenly shoves a gun against Kenneth's head. The guy just scoffs and says, You idiot. Why the hell would we buy guns if we can't kill people with them, huh? Kenneth calmly glances back at him with a warning. You should probably quit while you're ahead. If you piss off a powerful arms dealer, all that gear you're holding will turn into a pile of scrap metal. He turns his head back to look at the guy and adds, Now, let's see how forward-thinking our arms dealers really are, shall we? That just pisses the goon off more, and he starts yelling. You think this is the time to be so calm? This thing's loaded. Kenneth, annoyed, just yells right back in his face. You absolute moron. He points out the obvious. If I put a hole in your head right now, where the hell are you going to get your ammo from in the future? Hearing this, Bo-sang finally steps in. I was just messing around. He looks at Kenneth and continues. Just as I'd expect from a real pro arms dealer. His eyes never leave the kid, staying perfectly calm even with a gun pointed at his head. Kenneth casually turns back to face the group and replies, Shouldn't you guys be more impressed that a human like me is even doing business with vampires in the first place? He adds, Anyway, pointing a gun at your arms dealer is not exactly a smart move. Then he rubs his chin, like he's deep in thought. So, before we part ways, Kenneth playfully declares, From now on, I'm adding a 10% surcharge, so don't you forget it. Bosang's eyes light up as he repeats what he just heard. Next time, he follows that with a fit of hysterical laughter. As he turns to leave, he makes sure to get the last word in. Sure thing, we'll remember that. At this point, only Kenneth is left. His whole body goes limp as he mutters. People say the descendants of Heket are nasty as hell. Kenneth has a look of utter annoyance on his face. Those guys have zero manners, just like the rumors said. I almost got myself killed. Back to Song Dok-sun's car, speeding down the road. It's possible the mutation happened during the hunt for the vampires from the Geo clan, and this is how it ended up. Or maybe it was the influence of the phantom moon. He's driving while listening to the broadcast, and everyone knows that if you catch the mutant, you get a reward, right? You're probably wondering why they even care about some worthless mutant. But with a huge sum of money like that on the line, it seems they think their very survival depends on it. Along with that came a shocking announcement. They've put up a reward for whoever catches him, 100 million won. Song Dok-sun stares ahead with a pensive look. This is insane. I can't believe vampires are putting a bounty on a vampire hunter. Just then, another piece of information comes through. A scene of corpses scattered everywhere is shown, along with a voiceover. Recently, at the south end of the Ian Bridge near Hang Park, they've announced M-Dog's location. That monster has appeared again. And of course, they add a line to cover their own asses. Of course, we're just reporting the news. The decision is up to you, you know. Elsewhere, some guys are closing in on M-Dog. He has completely lost control. They appear on the rooftop. Think they can handle it? Eon looks down and says with a sneer, even if this is just some backwater in the east, you should never underestimate the damn cops of this garbage country. M-Dog makes a move the second he sees the two of them. The long-haired guy next to him calmly replies, my bad. Then he flicks his 10 fingers forward, and poisonous spiders appear out of nowhere. They lock onto M-Dog and attack all at once. The attack knocks him to the ground. M-Dog screams in pain, and in the blink of an eye, he's tied up tight. That's when the long-haired guy turns to his partner. Yo, Eon, why don't you finish him off? But suddenly, Eon seems to sense danger and quickly shoves the guy to the side. No, get back. Thanks to that move, the bullet only grazes the long-haired guy's shoulder. A pained scream rings out. Eon glares in the direction the bullet came from and yells, who the hell are you? All he gets in response is a delighted grin from his opponent. Looks like the pathetic orphan vampires from the Dok clan are really running wild here in Korea, huh? A whole group is surrounding the two of them. A subordinate orders in a low voice, grab the vampire and that mutant. 2 birds with 1 stone. The boss is gonna love this. This guy's smartass attitude is really starting to piss Eon off. You greedy son of a bitch. But the subordinate just scoffs in reply. Better than going crazy over a few drops of blood, right? He doesn't forget to add, we're not so different, you and I. As soon as the words are out, he and his goons just open fire. The long-haired guy's body gets riddled with holes, but Eon is way slicker. Dodging the first round of bullets, he closed in on the henchman and fought back. A twisted grin spread across his face as he declared, go to hell. Eon immediately rushed forward, aiming his attack at the henchman. He unleashed a barrage of blows, but his opponent dodged them with ease. The henchman just scoffed and made a comment. I admire your enthusiasm, but don't you think you're seriously underestimating humans? He said, before landing a swift kick right in Eon's face. You bastard. His crew immediately pointed their guns at Eon. They quickly unloaded their clips right into him. Eon was in agony, shot to the point of being deformed, and just collapsed onto the ground. The sight made the henchman crack a gleeful smile. The others then started fighting over who got to drain the guy's blood. How long has it been since we've seen a high-quality vampire like this? The henchman didn't forget to remind them from the sidelines, hey, that's blood from the Joc clan, so be careful not to get mutated. Just then, his attention shifted to something else, and he hurried over with a warning, hey, leave that one alone. A confused underling asked, aren't we supposed to capture that guy? There's a bounty for his capture. He looked at M-Dog, crawling pathetically on the ground, and then explained, that bastard is perfect bait right now. The underling finally understood the scale of his boss's plan. Leaving him there would lure all the other vampires to gather here. So it would be a total waste to be satisfied with just 100 million. The henchman held out his hand and demanded, where's the signal transmitter? Bring it here. They decided to use M-Dog. He walked over and brutally kicked him, then stomped down hard, pinning him in place. A wicked smile spread across the henchman's face. Now, where should I shove this thing? Think the rumors will spread well if I stick it in here? He roughly shoved the device into M-Dog, and then he stepped back as M-Dog tried to run away. The henchman watched M-Dog's movements and noted, good, he's still alive. They watched him run off into the distance. Only then did the henchman turn to his crew and announce loudly, let's roll. He and his men took off. The night hunt has begun. His convoy sped down the road. Just then, something caught the henchman's eye. He muttered cautiously, as a massive truck blocked their path. What the hell is that? The truck door slowly opened. revealing the silhouettes of a pack of vampires waiting below. The henchman's expression immediately turned to horror. "Oh crap, turn around." But one of the vampires had already raised a gun. He fired it in a flash. The bullet tore through the air. When it collided with the henchman's car, a massive explosion erupted. The vehicle went tumbling violently across the ground. Bo-sang watched from the side with satisfaction as the scene before him quickly descended into chaos. The henchman was also injured, crawling out of the wreckage while muttering curses. Damn it! He was greeted by a hail of bullets from the opposite side. The other vampires moved in, using their bare hands to finish off the henchman's crew. Bo-sang slowly approached him and remarked, "Well, what do we have here?" His attitude was full of contempt. "Aren't you just some alchemist's lackey?" Bo-sang took a sip from a blood pack and continued, "Didn't see you around in the U.S. So you've been in Korea, huh?" The henchman grimaced and looked up. "You damn descendant of Hayek." He posed a question. Since when did vampires become so pathetic that they need to be equipped with heavy weapons? Hearing this, Bo-sang just calmly explained, "The weak ones you're talking about are just smart enough to come prepared." He leaned down in front of the henchman. "They say the real vampire hunter, the one who killed Jung-un, is in Korea, so coming to his turf without any weapons would be pretty ridiculous, wouldn't it?" He asked the question with his gun pointed straight at the guy's head. "Don't you think?" Bo-sang didn't waste any more time and just pulled the trigger. After the rush from the kill faded, he quickly gave an order, "Find him. There's gotta be a locating device." In Bo-sang's hand was the device tracking M-Dog's movements. One of his goons commented that it seemed to be an FM type. He replied, satisfied, "Good." A smile crept onto Bo-sang's lips. "Shall we grab a midnight snack?" But out of nowhere, one of the henchmen was shot. His face was completely mangled. This caught Bo-sang completely off guard. A bio-bullet? He whipped his head around, his expression turning sour, because standing there in the darkness was the silhouette of Sylvester, the real vampire hunter. He looked down at the chaotic scene below and remarked, "Looks like we have quite a few uninvited guests tonight." A single slash was unleashed, and another henchman was defeated. Another slash, and the same thing happened again. Bo-sang watched the fight with a sarcastic smile. Taking on this many vampires, Sylvester zipped past the henchmen, taking them down in an instant. He then stopped and replied to Bo-sang, "It won't do you any good, but I gotta say, it's impressive." This comment from Sylvester clearly amused Bo-sang. Damn right it is. He charged straight at Sylvester. "For guys like us who are used to death, everyday life is just so damn boring. Aren't you supposed to be some noble grim reaper?" He threw a punch, but it was easily dodged. The next second, Bo-sang was in shock as he saw his own body get sliced in two. Sylvester's face was completely emotionless as he replied in a low voice, "This act of yours to erase your pain, this one-sided beatdown was over in a flash. Don't try to attach any meaning to it, you vampire." Elsewhere, M-Dog was on the run. A voice called out from behind him, "Hey, you! Stop right there." A group of people had blocked M-Dog's path. "Look at that bastard." The leader of this group was none other than Yang Ho. "Weren't you once human? What a disgusting sight you are." He signaled to the henchmen behind him. "All right, boys." The bloodthirsty vampires moved in quickly. "Clean this up fast and let's get back before sunrise." They all targeted M-Dog and charged at him at once, but he was no pushover who would go down easily. M-Dog leaped up in an instant. He locked onto a target and struck back. His spiked fingers grabbed one of the henchmen by the head and just ripped his body apart. This chaotic fighting scene made Yang Ho panic. What the hell is going on with that bastard? He watched his men get taken down one after another and yelled, "Isn't he ready for the finishing blow yet?" M-Dog was panting heavily when another guy appeared behind him. Yang Ho was visibly excited to see this, but then another interruption occurred. The bullet left the barrel, flying straight into the henchman who was about to attack M-Dog from behind. Only when the guy finally dropped did M-Dog realize it was none other than Han Se-gun. "I never wanted to see you like this again," he muttered. "It's been a while, huh?" He scanned the area and kept mumbling to himself. "Guess Songdok-sun isn't here yet." Yang Ho was so shook he could barely speak. "Who the hell are you? Why is even M-Dog giving you his full attention?" The moment that dude spoke his name, Han Se-gun was actually surprised. Han Se-gun's eyes darted, his body shifted, and the guy on the ground just exploded. He watched it all with a completely deadpan expression. The three survivors just stood there, frozen, until Yang Ho finally decided to turn and run for it. Han Se-gun immediately whipped his gun around and aimed it at the old man. "And where the hell do you think you're going?" A flash of light as the bullet left the chamber. Yang Ho took the full force of that hit and went down. He clutched his face, screaming in agony, while M-Dog started walking over slowly. He came to a stop right in front of Han Se-gun. M-Dog's eyes bored right into him. Han Se-gun stared right back, not even flinching. In the end, though, M-Dog just walked past him. Nothing went down between them. This totally unexpected scene made Yang Ho scream out. "What? Why'd you just let him pass like that?" He choked on his words as Se-gun's shadow fell over him. Yang Ho asked, "That's you?" isn't it? His face was a cold, empty mask, his voice just as devoid of emotion as the memories came flooding back. Do any of you have any clue what the Song Song gang did to me? What followed were all the things Han Se-gun always tried to forget, but no matter how much he resented it, how pissed off he was, bitching about it was just pointless. The deaths just kept replaying in his head, people he knew, innocent bystanders. At the end of the day, some perfect picture was shattered, and there was no way to go back. Then Se-gun's voice went steady as he expertly cocked his gun. Thanks to you, I got some pretty good experience. Seeing that he was about to die, Yang Ho started to panic and scream. No, wait, just stop. The gun was pressed right against his forehead. Se-gun didn't even blink as he delivered the final blow. You shouldn't have stuck your nose in business that wasn't yours. After that, he just pulled out his phone. Down in the sewers, M-Dog was just sitting alone, zoned out in the moonlight. That is, until the voice and footsteps of Song Deok-sun cut through the silence. In the end, I ended up owing that kid one. M-Dog glanced over at Song Deok-sun, who had stopped right in front of him. Captain Song, M-Dog stammered in reply, it's me. But the rage inside him just exploded. M-Dog didn't say another word and just launched himself at the captain. Song Deok-sun wasn't surprised by this move at all. He just let out a bitter smile and commented, can't shed tears. Seems like that's a common trait. And not just for you vampires.